you guys idiots? Why'd you let that happen? Why can't we have apps use the same camera at one time?
You can use a
What makes
virtual
that so
cam.
hard? Well,
Or just like
I don't.
marionette
I only have a
something, what the
regular
fuck?
cam.
But you can buy a virtual cam. Like, I mean, like software to do that. So you're complaining about software, but software solves that problem.
Wow, so big software created a solution to a problem they created to
Yeah.
monetize it, is what you're saying.
Big software, indeed. That's what you would call it.
I don't trust these imaginary numbers.
Okay, all right. All right, so we got like a lot of individuals here. That's great. Thank you for being here, Benja B. Nice to have you here. Nice to see you. Thanks for being around, Benja B. Cricket, hello, hi. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Dan is here again. We have
as always.
Gender Juice. King of William is back with us once again. Thank you, King of William. It made me laugh like literally as soon as you came into chat. Mafia Omar, hello. And Problematic Pan. All right. Well, I've said lots of things on the January 6th situation, right? And my frame rate has dropped for some fucking reason. All right, anyway. I've said lots of things. So I'm curious what you all have to say.
Yeah, well, I think I'm probably the closest you're going to get to a Republican defending this shit. I think that while it was certainly embarrassing for Republicans that so many of their followers are such idiots, they decided to basically storm the Capitol and make themselves look super stupid. It's not the world's biggest deal. It's definitely something that, the people who were violent should have been prosecuted. I'm glad that one guy who, was violent to the cops got arrested. Good things. That's good. But this whole conflation of this is like some super bad event that's historic in our history. It's definitely unique. I'll give you that. But with so few people dying, so little property damage, I think it's fair to say that while maybe Republicans are underplaying it a little bit, I also think that the left is overplaying it quite a bit.
Oh my God. Okay, just for a second. I got something else to say now. No, okay, Pan, seriously?
I have a lot to say.
Yeah. Okay. So Pan, are you serious? Like,
look, I think it's an embarrassment. I think they're super stupid, right?
Pan.
What?
Pan.
Yeah.
Look, like the Republicans and their constant fucking preening about respect for fucking authority, right? Those people, right? Respect for the government, hypocrites. Respect for the police and all of that, right? Then this happens.
I'm sorry.
Where they storm. I know you're not a Republican. or anything like that.
No. But if you're thinking I'm not calling them dumb hypocrites, I think you're a little bit mistaken. They are absolutely dumb hypocrites.
Okay.
However, the idea that this was a terrorist infiltration, that this is like the worst thing since 9/11, I think is a bit overblown. No one besides protesters died. There's minimal property damage. That people took photo ops. Sure, it was violent. Sure, I'm sure some people were scared. And that's bad. That's a genuine crime that shouldn't be, underplayed. But I don't think it should be controlling the discourse a year later. I don't think we should do I don't think it warrants an anniversary we'll see if it continues like this, but I don't think it warrants an anniversary.
All right. What do y'all think?
There's, even as there's many other events to compare it to in the United States, the political ramifications of this in this situation is pretty terrible. And even with that, the current situation of not many people even getting prosecuted for the event is.
What do you mean people not getting prosecuted?
There's not. I mean, not that many. I would.
Well, the only people that are.
I want to at least finish to.
Okay.
Many of the people that do it, there should be way more people that should be prosecuted, including Ned Fuentes, who are part of this whole.
Was Ned Fuentes in the Capitol?
I think so.
In the building itself? I mean, if so, then sure, I agree, because he was definitely an instigator of it. But I don't think we need to charge every person who walked in. We should charge the people who were responsible and were actually planning an insurrection.
Why not?
Martyrize them?
There's no need to.
It should be the extent of
it's just
literally committing treason of wanting to go around and have your own way against the government's control. It's
it should be treason to trespass on government property.
I mean, to literally overthrow the government. Yes.
Oh well, to be clear, the FBI report has shown that
They're all trying to overthrow the government. Like
has
want to
shown
hang high pitch,
that
kill like
Dan,
Nancy Pelosi,
Dan, the
rape
Dan, Dan,
AOC.
hold on, Dan.
Literally, they've been saying
To
that, and
what are
she
you
and even
talking to?
AOC
Do
has
what?
talked about. This is to what. That's why I'm doing to the extent that this
To
is
rape
even to the place of.
AOC.
Yeah, she even mentioned saying that in her own interview. That she'd been afraid of that.
Oh, had been afraid of that. Okay. So the thing about fears is
that.
those are only limited by your imagination, right?
No,
fears
she
are.
said that. Like, why
No,
are you lying?
I didn't say she didn't say that. I'm sure she did. I didn't see that she said that. But what I'm saying is you can be fearful of anything, but that's not what actually happened. Like, I think her fears were understandable, and stuff like that. But when we look back on it, if we look at the FBI report, basically 95% of the people there had no intention of overthrowing the government. It was a protest that got wild, and you know how crowds are. Now, that doesn't excuse those people. They should, maybe some minor crimes and stuff, like trespassing. And the people who were there to try to cause an insurrection, I'm glad that they are being prosecuted, which those are the few people that that are being prosecuted. But I don't think it makes sense to basically malevolently go back and try to find every single person who trespassed on the Capitol Hill, regardless of whether or not they had any intention to overthrow the government or whether or not they just saw an open Capitol Hill building and were walking inside. There's a difference between, I think we can all agree that there's a difference in level of guilt between some of the protesters and some of the rioters and the other rioters, right? Obviously, people like the Kyomen shaman guy, probably significantly worse than your old grandma who wanted to go to a Trump rally and saw that the fucking Capitol building was open, right? Can we at least agree with that?
No.
You think they're all
a grandma should be a grandma who is 7 years old barge into the Capitol should be as prosecuted as to equal to anyone else. That's the law. I'm not going to go around and discriminate them because of age. It's they still are breaking the law. I'm not that lenient as you think I am. Like if you want to give to historical examples, and you said you wanted to,
should we prosecute
the riots that happened around the 1930s, where you end up having like old World War I vets like demanding to get better pay and other version of stuff like that, and then having the army literally trample them like where they stood and them being killed. I think that is less to event because they haven't like barged in the Capitol building and literally we're not doing an arrest to wanting to overthrow the Capitol. They just want to have benefits for after they did their war stuff and like medical bills or whatnot. In this case of literally people just going to the Capitol, it's way more precedent to have throw the book at them, as given that we have to show that having these people go to the Capitol and start like almost threatening or even possibly killing any of our congressmen, senators, or whatnot, and even a vice president should at least have to show that they should not be given any leniency.
I agree. No matter people who showed intentionality that they intended on killing a congress member, I absolutely agree. They should be punished to the fullest extent of the law.
I think anybody that had anything to do with planning this whole thing. What? Anybody that had anything to do with planning this whole thing and making this possible and making it so that there wasn't enough security. And I would like to see the big fish get arrested. And so I think what the Democratic Party is kind of analogous to what Problematic Pen is doing here, which is to try to manage it. And they want to say, oh, well, we've arrested all these rubes and we've given them all these sentences and everything. But it's I think it's hilarious. I am sometimes bothered with people on the left who downplay this. It's obviously a huge problem, and it's obviously gives people the sense that they can get away with this stuff. And I say this as somebody who used to teach in a classroom. This is just like the rules are the rules. I could never just break into the Capitol building. They would they would shoot me or something. There's just no possibility. They were led out and all this kind of stuff. And then, they had to get kind of pushed into going after them. Merrick Garland is just, all I do is see his worry face. He doesn't seem to be eager at all to prosecute. And so, it's like, and then you have people in chat, you hit to have your Trumpers in chat, and they're like, it's just the beginning. This is just the first sign. We're so badass. We're going to come for you.
Do you think there's any
That's exactly what
legitimately are saying that?
the
Do
whole
you think
that
there
shit
are
is
people in
all
chat?
about.
I would
No
agree
one in
to
chat is
Pan.
legitimately saying that.
I'm going to give Kirby the ability to
They are
Pan.
legitimately saying that.
No, like not all Republicans are going to go have that kind of belief. I would say
No.
at least the people who showed up or those who are Trump loyalists would have that. I would agree to that. May have that perspective, but I can't generality that everyone in the Republican Party are like, hey, take him over, destroy the Democrats.
Let's
do all of that.
Let's let him.
What they're doing.
Real
So
quick.
are you guys so rule of law
gender
in other aspects, or just here?
Gender, and then was it Omar? All right.
Can I jump in after?
You sure?
That was Ajax, yeah. So my main thing is that it seems like we all agree that January 6th was a pretty bad thing. The people that went to the events, although to a different degree, varying by person to person, we agree that those individuals should be punished. And from what I'm gathering, just based loosely off of your ideologies, is that we also believe that some sort of repercussions should fall onto the people that led them to the path. The instigators, advocates, Alex Jones types. If I'm correct, he was actually at January 6th with a bullhorn preaching, basically. Yeah, those types. The people that have engaged in, we can call it stochastic terrorism or stochastic violence, whatever you want, but in this indirect, not indirect, catalyzing the event, engaging as sort of just a way to channel, create, and direct their anger towards something that is politically or ideologically beneficial towards them. This is obvious, pretty overt and obvious with Republican right wing, blah, 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 trigger word, January 6th, But what sort of laws or methods of judgment would be best in putting those types of people to trial, Because the problem is that if we introduce a new law, then we also have to go through a few cases to set limits and boundaries and see, all right, this is an overextension. Be careful of the semantics. And with the Republican fucking office, I don't know a lot about American politics, all right? But with Republicans in what seems to be a semi-position of power, it seems very hard to hold them accountable with any new laws. So are there any current ways that they've just any laws that they've pretty obviously broken that they've just been avoiding for now? Yeah, pretty much. That's this entire thing. And it seems like what a lot of the leftist or left-wing frustration has been going towards and on is that although, yes, there have been some arrests on January 6th, the people that were in positions of power and had levers of power have been feeding into this and have created and not only sort of worsened the situation from that one boiling point, but are ready for a second January 6th to occur later on because one, they individually haven't faced any repercussions. This entire system, although it's being revealed to an extent, really isn't being dismantled. We know that Facebook and rage algorithms, being angry keeps people engaged. Same thing with the news cycle. Once Trump was gone, all of this fear, turmoil, negative emotions coming from the news also went down. Less people were watching, so on and so forth. So I just went on a whole long ass rant. I just realized. I'm sorry. I should just open this up to anyone at this point.
Go ahead, Omar.
Well, it's very easy to discuss the negatives about this event, right? But my question is, does anyone on this panel feel that any positives arose from this event?
We can learn from it.
No, you guys all should be answering. This is an easy optics win for you guys on the left. Obviously, some good things happened on it for you guys. The biggest losers of January 6th are the Republicans, for sure.
And
what have they lost?
I would say that so far nothing functional has happened, and obviously I think the Democrats want to keep the these kind of pugilistic right wingers around because they make us fear that they'll come and that we need to keep donating to the Democratic Party, even though they will not pass legislation that large majorities of the American population support. So
Like a
people want to
protection
support.
fee?
I mean, I think they're, yeah, I don't actually know what protection fee means, but they basically want this threat behind them saying, well, you got to go with us, and we're going to like keep things going as they are, or we're going to make you go to work in the middle of a pandemic. And we're not going to fix your schools. We're not going to do, we don't really care what happens to you. It's like the perpetuation of this sort of general decline in the economic system, and then and put downward pressure on working people, and then but if we don't like that, then we get the fascists. So that's how I think about it. So they won't do the meaningful things to hold these people accountable. They won't pressure Joe Manchin to switch his vote. They can't be forced to do these things because they don't want to give people stimulus checks and so on and so forth. They don't want to do anything meaningful for people because they want that downward pressure. And there's a huge transfer of wealth going from, and there has been, but it's accelerating, from working class people and poor people up to people who already have just incredible amounts of money and are making incredible record profits.
Do you feel that's fair?
I don't think that's fair at all. That's what the left is trying to do. So the left goes with electoralism. They put in a couple of handful of leftist politicians, and they say all the things that leftists want to hear, and they do the best that they can or whatever. They get into DC and they face whatever kind of pressures. We don't know, but it's not everybody's trying to make the argument. I think the left is winning the argument. So in that sense, Problematic Pen is right that obviously when conservatives go and make an ass out of themselves and smear shit on the walls of the Capitol building, it's hard for them to still wave the American flag. I think they've always wanted to just switch it around and wave the stars and bars. That's what they really want to do. But they can't really claim the United States flag anymore. And so, yeah, that is an optics win. It's another way that we win rhetorically. But in terms of can we get the powers that be to move to alleviate the situation of people who are basically doing all of the work in this country, not yet.
Interesting concept, because a lot of people that stormed the Capitol building felt that they were being American. But how American are you truly if you storm the Capitol building?
That's with Confederate flag.
Well, I mean, when you believe what they believe, it makes sense, right? Like, I don't think William was quite going there, but when he was critiquing electoralism, it almost sounds like he's saying, okay, well, we need a leftist January 6th, and which I'm sure some of you might think is justified because of the current state here.
I think you're going to conflate it when we go out in the streets. You're going to say
I'm not
it's the same
conflating
thing.
anything. I'm
You
sorry
will.
if it seems like I'm trying to equate it to say, oh, it's the same exact thing. Both sides are equal, blah, blah, blah. I apologize. I'm not trying to say that, right? But what I'm saying is that if you believed what these people believed, that the election was legitimately stolen and democracy in America was dead, them having a protest like this where nobody died, or nobody who wasn't a protester died, I think shows that
if you were a left winger, how would you do it? How would you? If you were a left winger, how should the left winger win?
Didn't a
Sorry.
cop die?
Yeah,
one woman
I mean,
died.
I would support I'd probably support a third party. I'd probably go Greens and try to build the coalition. It might take a couple election cycles, but I feel like that's besides the point. What I would do. I kind of want to go back a little bit to something Ginger Juice said.
Before you do that, I want to get. We'll get back to you, buddy. I want to get A. Jackson. He's been waiting patiently.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that Pan brought that up, because that's what I've been wanting to say this whole time, is that if you truly believe what these people believed, you should have done January 6th. The problem here is the misinformation that these people were bought into. And that's what I'm really interested in, because we all know that what they bought into is BS, and we all, I think, agree that these people should be held accountable for the crimes they committed, right? But what I'm more interested in is the misinformation around the event, and what those people bought into, because that's the problem. Because if we can't fix the misinformation, this is going to happen again.
Yeah, the one thing to fix it is to at least put forth the main restrictions that I've been waiting for Facebook that should have been well done a long time ago, that a lot of people who worked at Facebook been saying about it way before the January 6th riots, saying that this kind of information is kind of dangerous and propagating terrible ideas that would bring violence against this country. And,
do you think it's at all problematic to advocate for making it so that people aren't allowed to criticize basically the election process?
No,
do you see it? Like, because I agree in principle, right? Like, the Republicans are way out there on this one. But if we're making a general law about this,
the right to criticize, but stuff like QAnon groups were very successfully propagated through the use of Facebook, and they've been looking at this even before it. You can look at the Facebook papers that they came out, and they said they've been seeing this for a good while. However, they've been telling this to Mark Zuckerberg and much of the people who are part of the main board of Facebook. However, has been a appointee that Mark Zuckerberg's listened to, who is also a former person who used to be in the Bush administration, says don't harm conservatives. They're good people, and I'm not generalizing all conservatives, but the thing of using this as
hey, Omar, we can hear whatever you're doing there with the rapper. If you could, yeah, thanks. Keep going.
Putting the same thought of this ideas of will end up turning to a domino effect, I don't think is really true. But it ends up this whole broadening that if we go after QAnon, it'll go after the conservatives is not going to really, I don't think, would be happening. However,
would you stop anyone who questions the results of the election? So there's a lot of Republicans out there who stupidly think the election was rigged. You would similar things have happened before, right? I mean, in 2016 afterwards, about not as many, so I'm not comparing the two. I don't want to sound like I'm doing both sides, but I think it was something like 40% of Democrats believe that that 2016 was rigged in some aspect, and I think it's an even larger portion believe that the 2000 election was rigged. If you're saying that we can't question the legitimacy of an election, do you not see how such policies could be applied against you? Now, I agree that in this case, it does seem obviously clear to me that the Republicans are speaking nonsense, but it's the same general principle, right?
I would agree on the same occasion to do the same for Democrats if they end up doing conspiracy theories in their own right that did with 2016.
What about with 2000?
Sure, same.
Wait, do you not see, that seems like it's going way too far.
You're missing the point, though, because if you looked at the George Bush election, right, it's totally fine to question that. The issue is that once it got to court and once these arguments were fully hashed out, there was a decision made, and you have to accept that decision. That's a huge difference.
Do you think the majority of Democrats accepted the decision?
Yes, reluctantly.
That is not true. That was used as an argument in elections going forward that Bush had stolen the election.
We can end up looking back to the election of 1880 and look at how
I'm not trying to go back to 1880.
How Rutherford stole the election.
I don't want to go back to 1880.
That case is more justified than any of the cases.
So let's go to OnlyFacts and Chris. And we have Roadman here. I'm sure he's fired up. Hello, hi. But we'll go to OnlyFacts, Chris, and Roadman.
Yeah, I'm gonna reframe the discussion, or just because I like to look at things maybe from a foreign policy sense, and I'm just a little annoyed when people want to just look at this in matters of numbers, one person died or 3,000 died, or I mean, even the 3,000 that died on 9/11, we can also then say, well, look at COVID and 800,000 died. So does that make 9/11 less important? The point I'm trying to go at is January 6th showed to the world that America doesn't even have its own house in order, let alone for America to stand on this stage and tell anybody to do anything. So when countries, and I'm not going to do the liberal thing where I'm going to say, Russia and China, are sensing, instability in America, so they go off and do their own things like in Ukraine or in Hong Kong or Taiwan or whatever. But there is something to be said that if we don't have our own house in order, but we still are posturing the way we posture overseas, we just become a sort of paper tiger. And when I see like it drives me mad. Like it's maddening to see people like quantify what January 6th is when it is more of a qualitative thing. Like what symbolically and what does it mean, of what America is, and on the foreign policy front, domestic front, and to buttress what King of Williams said. At the end of the day, yes, it's the American people that are the losers. It isn't left or right. I'm not trying to do the Obama thing here, but what is important is, as King of Williams said, just as Americans were, peeking their head up and saying, okay, we, breathed a breath of relief or whatever as Trump was leaving, you have January 6th come along, and it basically kind of pushes the Overton window to the point where, oh, you could have had it this much worse. Now, eat the crap that we give you with Biden. No college tuition forgiven. No this, that, and the other. I don't know. I'm all over the place, but yeah.
But how is it pushed if our democracy stood strong? It showed the world that even when a force may come to try to usurp our democracy, that it stood strong. Like, there have been protests all around the world in the last 2 years that have happened, especially around COVID lockdowns and other that are happening around the world. Most Americans just don't really give a fuck, so they don't really see it. But it's been all over Europe, everywhere. There's been a shit ton of protests that just no one talks about because everyone's so inept at looking about what's happening in the world, right? But we showed that our democracy stood strong despite people trying to usurp it. I think that's a strength, not a weakness.
That's it. Well, I think that's a good point. That is a good point. I think that as much as I have things negative to say about the military, for example, that on January 6th, that these were men and women and that served this nation, that believed that this is a nation of laws, not a nation of men, as they say. So I think it was just good enough, but I feel like there's just enough apologia for where next time it could fall through or not be. But you do make a good point. I agree.
Just because somebody...
Hold on. Let's go to Chris and then Roadman, and then we can get to everyone else.
Our democracy held strong. I think our democracy held strong because our elected officials didn't die, which they possibly could have a few minutes, if the protesters would have got in a few minutes earlier, right? We were just on the verge of everything collapsing, right? Mike Pitts hanged on television, right? Hostages taken or slaughtered live on television because everybody was fucking filming what was going on, right? We can only say that we did so well. These Republicans are total idiot, or these insurrectionists are total idiots and failures because they were a few minutes late, right? If they people showed up with gear, right? Zip ties, weaponry, right? They were ready. People we found out people were actually planning on doing this beforehand, right? They get there, right? They entice others in the protest with them. They got Donald Trump hyping their head up, right? They get there, right? And they were just getting these officials out while protesters are coming in. They just missed them. We watched it live on TV, them getting them out the door, and they were right behind them. So we can talk this big game. We can make act like this is not a big deal because it went in our favor this time. But another strike, right? More organized, right? More people willing, right? More people knowing about what's going on, especially now you have this huge number of Republicans who are, that they believe that this is something right and justified. This is crazy. There's no way we should be downplaying this at all.
Okay. Let's go to Roadman and then Cricket. And was it Kezim? I think I had to sign up.
I don't understand how the January 6th is being compared to 9/11 by Kamala Harris today. That was ridiculous. That was stupid. It was. She. I don't understand what we're talking about. I think January 6th. Okay, sorry. I think that January 6th was obviously, people got a little riled up, but it was not as crazy as the left wants to make it out to be. I think it's just this red herring where they want to just blame everything on this January 6th and act like Republicans are crazy. They're going to take over the government. Also, it's just isn't that the right of the people to protest their government? I feel like Republicans haven't been heard. Obviously, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want any politicians to be dead. But I think that a populace that is engaged in their political discussions and stuff is going to realize that their voice is not being heard. I think you can all agree here. Everybody on this panel can agree that your voice is not being heard in politics. You saying this with Joe Biden, he didn't forgive your student loans. He didn't do anything on the minimum wage. He's placating your demands. He wants you to think that he's going to do something, and both sides are getting played a fool. While the Fed itself is just printing out money, inflation's going crazy. You're getting rocked right now economically, and you want to have a $12,000 or a $1,200 stimulus again, and you want your life to be just paid for by the government. The government is your money. You realize that, right? When you work and you get taxed, that's your money going into the government. The government is not some like big.
Yeah, we want it back.
Yeah, so why are you so afraid to get it back?
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't have your money, but let's talk about the taxes
You want to
themselves.
tax the rich?
I'm not talking about tax. I'm saying you get rid of the taxes themselves.
You were.
But hold on. Okay, it might say, "Oh my God." You can't say, "Oh my God."
You're derailing as fuck, dude. Like,
how am I derailing?
This has nothing to do. Like, what are you talking
it does
about?
have something to do.
Libertarian.
I'm not going on. Listen, let me finish.
Man,
let me finish.
And also, right, you're spitting.
Yeah, we should
facts,
let him
but
finish.
At the same time, this isn't about January 6th.
But I'm
everything
coming
you're saying,
back.
100% agree with.
I know
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
coming back. I'm coming back.
Come back.
But this is what I'm saying: is January 6th now is being used as this event where we can just all focus on this. That's all the left. That's all the media wants to focus on for the next whatever. How many years are we going to talk about January 6th? Like, I think it's just this scapegoat that people want to use is like to just be like, okay, well, like somebody was saying earlier. Now we can just say, oh, Biden's not bad because look at January 6th. That's what it could have been. You know what I mean?
Oh, there we go. It's an election cycle. Of course, we're going to talk about it. Why wouldn't we? It's to our benefit. It's optically good.
Well, people talk about the bonus riots till this day. Why you'd say it's not? This is going to be one of those events that will equal to much of the many different like crazy things that happened in the United States.
How long did conservatives talk about Benghazi?
Well, wait a second. What's a bigger blunder, January 6th or Biden's Afghan pullout? What was a bigger blunder on the American government?
January 6th.
January 6th.
Well, January 6th was a contradiction,
not like
victory to our system in general.
One was more of a deal. The other one was more of a system failure that just happened to be. What's the opposite of a?
I don't know. The American government leaving billions of weapons and
what were they supposed to do?
Terrorist organizations.
Yeah, but
it's over. We do that every time.
I think that's a bigger
already in Iraq. This is not the first time.
How much does it cost to ship a tank back?
That seems like a bigger blunder to me than letting a bunch of drunk white guys into the Capitol.
Let's go. Let's let in. Let's let in Cricket and then the Kez person. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to respond to the claim earlier that that the failure of the January 6th event should be seen as evidence that our institutions are strong, and I can kind of see that that's sort of true, like relative to your expectations. Like, yes, it's true that we have strong institutions that are able to withstand an attack like that, but relative to what we would have expected a few years earlier, it's an indication that our institutions are weaker than we had previously thought, even if they remain strong up to a point.
Weaker in what way?
Weaker in that we probably wouldn't have predicted such a thing to happen a few years earlier.
But these
what does
are
that signal about our
individuals.
institutions, right?
This isn't an institution, though. These are individuals mobilizing.
Yeah, but they were mobilizing against institutions, is what I'm saying.
Okay,
and
Now what America was founded upon
is usually an event that just happens routine. You don't even hear about it. We never heard about that there was a certification on this date before last year. I didn't know about it. But the fact that like an overturning of an election, like a recertification of these results, was like 2 people away from going into complete chaos is like what strikes me as like our democracy is fragile and we need to strengthen. Like, it's crazy and we need to watch for it in 2024. That's why I still care about it. That's why I posted about it all day today.
Okay, hold up. So let's actually say the worst case scenario happened. Let's say the protesters get to Pence and do end up killing him. Maybe a couple other Congress members along the way. Do you seriously think that the response to that would be to instate Trump as president and everyone would just go along as Trump as president? Or do you think there would have been such a big shit show? There would be a lot of chaos for the Republican Party would basically be dead in the water or something like that. The idea that
even after all that, he
democracy was
didn't
in
get
danger,
convicted.
There was no danger to Joe Biden not becoming the president, right? Like it was, I mean.
Yeah, but a political assassination
they-
is still a really big deal. Like this doesn't
Okay,
happen that often.
Right. That's
At least not here. Not here, at least. Happens
Right,
everywhere.
if he implements,
I was just saying, for the case of argument, even at the idea that our democracy was somehow inherently threatened. Well, even in the worst case scenario, it's not like our government would have been completely overturned.
The Insurrection Act.
There was a 0% chance of success.
The idea behind the disruption, right, was to try to get the legislators to send a new slate of electors that would be more pro-Trump. Or plan B was to just there's like this weird rule somewhere I haven't read about in a while, where like instead of going through the slate of electors, you would just say, hey, every state gets one vote, and that primarily favors Republicans. And either way, it works. So the disruption is there.
Can I ask a question to everybody on the panel?
They would be able to get.
Before you do, I do want to have Kez talk, right? Kez.
Hi, how's it going? This is all relative statism. In one moment, you're going, yes, the state's wonderful. They're doing the thing the right way. And then the next, you're going, no, we lost the election. It had to be the government going and messing something up. The election's rigged, blah, 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 blah. So the longer you're sitting there perpetuating that misconception, and the longer that you're like ideating that this is somehow anti-democratic, no, it's stupid, people. That's the best way to put it. If you really think that that's the case, you're wrong. And we've proven it wrong multiple times. Sorry about the hand. My camera's a little janky. The outright reality is you lost the election. If you want to make a stink about it, cool. You can do that legally. It's called protesting. Once you step past that bar where the cop is saying, no, stop here, you're a criminal. And there's no other word for it. If you want to rationalize as to what that crime is, it's all post hoc or post facto ad hoc like justification for a crime.
Right.
Okay, they might have committed a crime, but it is not to the extent where we're going to put it on the news for a year and have some media fucking blast out.
You did it with Black Lives Matter.
What do you mean?
You did it with Benghazi.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. All I'm saying is
conservatives.
Are you guys this rule of law when it comes to Black Lives Matter? Like what this person just said? Are you this rule of law?
Wow.
If you cross the police,
no,
then that's it. They broke the law. Because now personally, I would not cross that line. I think that there's while it's not okay, I think that we shouldn't be damning these people who
there's also a difference.
Bars. Yeah, I know
you can't commit treason at a Target.
Okay, that's.
You could.
Okay, wait. But I think wait. I see what terrorism
Hold on. I'm sorry. If burning a police precinct down does not equate to like some form of, that's not just like terrorizing a target. Okay, these are serious crimes, right? But not everyone there who like stepped up there afterwards was necessarily one of the people who burned it down, right? So just because, yes, I agree that there's laws and that we need to follow them.
I'm with you.
If all you would apply these laws equally, I don't think you would, but I think you should.
What I'm saying
is to both.
And what I'm saying is, if all you did was trespass, then you take that trespassing charge.
Yeah, but the implications of invading your country's capital are very high.
I'm with you. I'll throw conservatives this bone, right? And I don't think it's something that is like even worth fighting, right? Like there were clearly different groups of people, right, who were doing different things, right? There were the people who were saying hang Mike Pence, well, dangerous. I think we can agree with that, right? Great. The guy who went in there into the chamber and he had like the ties, like the zip ties that like are specifically for like holding people, right? Yeah, that guy probably dangerous. But there are a lot of people who came afterwards, right? And it seems like really just fucking wandered in like literal morons. Like, oh, is the Capitol open for tour today? Right? I see all this junk in this broken windows. Is this a tour? I don't know. But like there are different groups, and then so I think there was an initial group that came in specifically to cause harm, and the other group that came in for like more mischief, I think, right? And then the third group, which was people just wandering about like absolute goddamn morons. But yeah, I think there are distinct groups, and if you can separate that, they can focus on the one and then like not have to deal with this conversation about like who gets charged with what,
70 people have pled guilty to charges, and 70 people have pled guilty to charges. 30 of them are in jail right now for it, or have been sentenced.
Okay, wait.
And beyond
This is
that,
what I wanna figure out.
725 were arrested. The demographics were not just everybody goes to jail forever.
No,
I want to jump in really quickly.
Hold on, wait. I haven't been able to
saying
speak for a fucking
Some
word.
people here were
So,
saying,
hold
throw
on.
the book
I have not
Sorry,
been able
go
to speak
ahead.
a fucking word. I've been trying to speak for like the past 2 minutes. So here's the thing. I know, my bad. I've got it like distanced out. So here's my question. One, I got 2 parts here. One, if Mike Pence was in any serious credible threat, you could ask Ashley Babbitt how that worked out for her. 2, if you want to sit there, and by the way, for anybody who isn't aware, Ashley Babbitt actually was at the door of the speaker's lobby, which is like right behind the chambers, and they were still in the process of evacuating House members. So again, I emphasize that you could see how well that would work out for anybody who would try to get even near Mike Pence. But second, to the point of where people are saying that, like, I'm not doubting there are people that had like seriously ill intentions, right? This is stupid to say otherwise. But what I would ask and pose to anybody is, does anybody know, when we're evaluating the severity of this, and to kind of what Prime was saying a little bit, how many people have been charged with any kind of threat on the vice president's life, like a credible threat? Because like that's what I'm curious about. Like, and then even then, like, what charges have been filed? Because from everything I've seen, the vast majority of these charges have essentially been trespassing charges. None have been like serious like treason or any of these other crazy charges. I'm sure that there's been some,
that's a high bar.
So what you're saying is there
charges for assaulting police officers. I'm pretty sure.
So
there
is
has
what's
been like battery.
Also, let me jump in. People forget that in one of the most rarest moments in history, we had the top 3 successors to the president in one room. The vice president, the Speaker of the House, and the Senate pro tempore, Grassley. The Secret Service immediately separated all 3 and evacuated them to separate areas. So after that third spot, after Senate pro tempore, or however you say it, the line of succession to the presidency becomes Mike Pompeo, then Secretary of Defense, Secretary of the Treasury, and then Defense. So in a sense, if you could hypothetically knock out 3 successors at once who are in the same room of a building that is being invaded, you literally could have a coup d'etat where your cabinet, the guys that you handpick, are now the successors to you should anything happen to you. Should you be impeached? Secondly, the minimization of, well, what did you expect to happen at worst case scenario? Worst case scenario would have been there was enough bloodletting in the U.S. Capitol that the President Trump would have had the political capital from both sides. Because if at one certain point there are Democrats and Republicans being killed, then the president can invoke the Insurrection Act and suspend the U.S. Constitution. And along with that, we go into a territory that has never been tested before, where maybe we can just push back Inauguration Day, which was actually proposed by Senator Tuberville of Alabama. So I'm just sick and tired of the last year of hearing all the minimization. And then my last point is when anybody here or frames this as a Republican thing or I don't see those guys that did that as Republican. I see them as jackasses that turned that don't get it. So when you call them, oh, the Democrats want to use it as a Republican thing, you're showing your ass here. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, it was a house.
Well said. Well said.
Okay, but don't you think it makes the left look a little goofy when you have vigils being held for January 6th and your vice president is comparing it to 9/11? It's just
sure. We can say the comparisons are nonsense, but like we can get past that and can focus on the actual event, right? Like, this is a distraction. I'm seeing this in chat too. People like conservatives like, well, this wasn't an insurrection. This wasn't 9/11. This wasn't all. Yeah, okay. Sure, push it back. We can ignore all of that. Done. I grant you all of that, okay? So we can move past that and focus on what actually did happen, right? And that was the Capitol got stormed. That was protesters marching down on the halls of Congress saying, hang Mike Pence. And Mike Pence and the Secret Service rushing him out for his own fucking safety, right? Like, that's the thing that happened. We have cops, right? Who were beaten and who were traumatized and commit suicide afterwards, right? Like, that's the thing that happened. We got a protester who was crawling through that window, right, when they were told not to, right? Remember, the law and order conservatives, right, all about, like, hey, when the cops give you instructions, right, then you better follow it. Even if you're running away, right, you better fucking follow it or you're going to get shot and you deserve it, right? So now we have a woman crawling through a fucking window when cops are out there right in front of her saying, don't come through, we will shoot. She gets shot and now she's a fucking martyr. That's what happened. So let's focus on that.
They're fucking...
Well,
I will stand up.
To be honest, I forgot her name.
Well, you guys want to talk
Ashley
about what
Babbitt.
actually happened?
Ashley Babbitt. Can I chuck out an olive branch? Can I chuck an olive branch to our conservative friends here? Like, I think there are a couple of conservatives that said something really, really interesting earlier, right? Where they were talking about the narrative. All these people were here because of the big lie, right? They believed that the election was stolen. A lot of them wanted to interrupt the proceedings because they believed that Mike Pence confirming Joe Biden would have been undermining democracy, right? This is a narrative that exists around the fucking country. There were not just riots at the Capitol. There were riots at other state capitals as well. Michigan, Ohio. I believe there was a big one in Salem, Oregon as well, right? And this is also something that hasn't gone away. If you're concerned with the preservation of American democracy, and I know a lot of people have been like, oh, well, American democracy wasn't under threat at that point, right? Or we weren't going to lose American democracy on that day. I think there's a possibility if things went differently we could have done, but I think that's besides the point. I think what we're seeing is the slow erosion of American democracy through this narrative, because what this narrative has done is it has charged the MAGA cult, okay? I'll just say that, not necessarily the Republican voter base, right? Even though the MAGA cult makes up some 30, 40 something percent, right? It has charged that particular area, and they've been threatening poll workers, right? Poll workers, Democratic poll workers in particular, have been leaving their jobs in fucking droves because of the threats that they've been facing. Republicans have been replacing them, sometimes with absolutely fucking insane people, right? It's usually the MAGA cult that's like trying to go for these positions. Steve Bannon has been pushing for that kind of thing. So have a lot of other people, okay? So what we're seeing is a wide-scale replacement of like people who are at least somewhat anchored in fucking reality, working on elections, with people who believe the big lie working in elections. And I think we're going to see more of this shit in the 2022 midterms when we have a whole load of fuckery from those poll workers, right, who want to undermine the vote in states that vote Democrat. And this will cause more conflict, more accusations of voter fraud and so on, right?
What?
And it's just going to keep going on. So we have to ultimately...
Hold on, but this seems really weird because you're like saying that like the big lie is an issue, and then you follow it up with like saying that there's going to be more election fraud, which then kind of sounds like the big lie again. You're basically saying that all these people that are being put in are going to now like overturn the election of the result.
Well, look at what the big lie did in 2020, right? It caused the Republicans to like put out fucking fake ballot boxes for fuck's sake, right? Like the vast majority of voter fraud that we actually managed to document during the 2020 election was committed by Republicans because they were worried about the big lie, right? And they're going to continue fucking doing this, right? And they're replacing poll workers to try and do this. Okay, so like, yeah, this isn't like, oh, the big lie or whatever. These are like solidly fucking documented cases. You can go and watch fucking Steve Bannon like encouraging people to go and do this shit. You can look at school councils, local mayor elections,
okay, so
right? And how much they're being overwhelmed by the MAGA cult.
That this happens. Let's assume that these people then get in control of like the vote. Okay, let's play this hypothetical. They get in control of the vote, and then next thing you know, they overturn an election, is it then okay for the left to then storm the Capitol as well? Like, because this just
I'm not
really
making any prescription. I'm worried about the amount of people in the United States who are like completely detached from reality. I'm worried about the amount of power that those people are managing to gain within American society, right? And I even made a tweet like earlier today, the only tweet that I've made on January 6th, right, which was essentially expressing sympathy for Ashley Babbitt and what brought her to the moment of dying on a fucking stretcher as a fellow conspiracists gathered around her and filmed her so they could get some more likes on their fucking Parler account. Imagine dying in that fucking conspiracist hole with all those people gathered around you just filming you, right?
Well, people
ogling
did
you
far
as you
worse than
fucking
what she
die.
did. I don't know why she was shot. People
So-
did far worse things than she
I
did.
agree. I agree. But all around the country, right? Like families are
People
losing
did
love.
far worse than what she did on Los Angeles streets. But
well, yeah,
I agree.
We're
I
talking about
agree.
individual
But
cops
all
now, like,
around,
that doesn't matter.
but all around the country, families are losing loved ones in various ways, either through like separation or because their family members insane enough to do something that gets them landed in jail because they believe in this fucking narrative. And you know, conservatives have to be the ones to challenge it. Like they're not going to listen to the left. The Republican Party has to challenge it, and right now they're embracing it. And if you're a Republican, you need to be holding your representatives to account because they're embracing this bullshit.
Okay, let's go to Cricket. Was it Roadman? I had it up. Okay, and all right. I'm sure Eucharist has something to say. He just doesn't want to fucking raise his hands. So almost it's unbelievable. And then Dan.
Yeah, I was just going to offer what I think is a concise summary of the problem that Vivian's describing, which is that there are going to continue to be doubts about the legitimacy of election outcomes, and that fact in itself is a serious threat to the stability of the system. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the whole thing is like the reason these people stormed the Capitol is because they saw in their eyes some fuckery with the election results. But my question to you guys on the left is, do you not think there were some examples that were shown that was a little sketchy involved with the elections? I'll give you some examples. You've seen the video of the woman pulling out a suitcase. They said there was a water main break. They left for, I'm not saying I believe this, but once people see this evidence and then they're just explained away as being conspiracy theorists, that is what's going to charge up these people to say, okay, my voice isn't being heard. Nothing's being done. I'm being called an idiot, a conspiracy theorist, like. Also, there's the poll watchers who were the conservative poll watchers were like cast out of the building. They put up paper on the walls, couldn't see into the building. So like when people see these things, they're gonna get upset. And when they feel like their voice is not being heard through the means that we have set up politically through voting, and they feel like, you know what, I tried to vote, I tried to do this, I tried to do that. My only option now is to go to the Capitol and get a little crazy. Obviously, what happened is bad. People who committed crimes should be held accountable for their crimes. However, if you just want to shut down all protests because you don't like the side that's protesting, I'm all for a Black Lives Matter protest. That's fine. You want to protest. Once you start burning down buildings, once you start committing crimes, once you start doing things that are hurting other people, businesses who are just trying to live their life, that's the problem. And the problem is we take, on both sides, we take these people who do something bad, you know, like commit a crime, and you cast this wide net around the entire beliefs of all the people who were at that event. And now, with people who were at that event were just like, hey, I was just trying to voice my opinion, and there was some crazy guy who did something stupid. You're lumping me in with him, and now I'm fired from my job. That's the problem.
We already made the distinction,
though. Real quick, I did have like concerns about it, but when I saw that when it went to court, there was maybe like 1 or 2 cases that were proven true, but out of 60, there's not enough to overturn an election. So that quelmed my concerns, and I was over it. I was like, okay, the election is free and fair.
I'm not saying that there was a big conspiracy for election fraud, but I'm saying when people have these concerns in a democracy, we should be all for investigating every little claim of.
They were, and they went through the judicial process, and they were, and they did.
This is the problem. This is the difference between if you go back to George Bush and why it's crazy to think that he didn't deserve it. It's because it went through the judicial process. The same happened with Trump. So yes, it was really dumb when there were a bunch of lefties that were instantly saying, no, you can't question it. The issue actually is, though, for the conservatives, is once these were all disproved, even by Trump appointed judges, that they were going to continue to hop on the bandwagon. That's the problem.
Not just hop on the bandwagon. They were willing to get to violence for it. That's way beyond that. whole other
Mate,
shit.
how many times did they do the Arizona audit or whatever? So they were looking for fucking bamboo.
And I disapprove of all this whole like election fraud shit. It's stupid. But let me explain something. The thing is like this idea, right, that the people who are like the ones who have like come to the point of violence are already fucking so deranged that even me as a normal conservative, I try to be like, hey bro, look, I think this election fraud shit is pretty stupid. They're so deranged. I can give you a great example of this. Look at the one where that guy, the viral video, the guy who was like snitching on himself, like he was super snitching on the FBI. He was like, look, I believe that we were gonna take over and we were gonna be called heroes. I don't know if y'all remember that like FBI clip. That dude was so deranged. I highly doubt the people who are more reasonable are probably the ones who are already acting reasonable at the fucking Capitol. Those who are protesting on the Capitol grounds, I guarantee you I could have probably more of a better conversation with them than the people who actually enter the Capitol for violent means.
We agree.
And so this is why I'm saying, like,
I agree.
This is the whole thing is like, though, and I will make this, even if I wanted to do this, I'm going to take it out to the BLM thing. There are probably sects of the BLM like protests that those who are extremely violent, I'm not saying the people who are just simply protesting, the extremely violent protesters at the BLM rally, they're unlikely, in my opinion, to be able to have a conversation with normal lefties, right?
Do you want to know the difference?
Yeah.
Let's.
The difference is 92% of BLM protests were peaceful, 100% of the insurrections weren't. And it's and I get it.
That's completely false.
Oh boy.
That's completely false.
Okay, you got something to disprove it?
False.
Yeah, the people who didn't commit any crimes. There was how many
I didn't say without crime.
No.
I didn't say without crime.
He's not saying
every person.
No. He's not. No. You misunderstand what he's saying, right? He's not saying the percentage of the people at the protest. He's saying at the number of BLM protests around the country, add them up. 92% of them is what he's saying were peaceful, right?
And then, this was a single epicenter event. It happened once.
And the single riots is violent. That's what he's saying.
They have to go to the Capitol to protest what they're feeling. I don't understand.
And did they storm the Capitol? Did they break anything at the Capitol? Did they tear the Capitol down?
Okay, but did that happen at all 50 states? You're not going to protest in all these different states.
When
they protested,
this
is so stupid. Hold on, listen, but this is so stupid. You're saying that, in other words, like all of the people at the BLM protest, 92% of them are peaceful.
That's not what I said.
No, I just explained it. I just explained what he said.
I'm saying if you took the incident count, okay, we'll add in the other like protect the vote riots or not riots, gatherings. How many are you looking at? Maybe a couple dozen major ones. Like, what was the percentage that were violent?
Okay, but I can come at you with this. Okay, so this is a whole countrywide protest of BLM. 97% are peaceful. That's fine. We'll just take that big macro view you're looking at it, bring it down to a micro view, and say this Capitol space. Let's say people on the left over here in this area are committing violence. What about these people all in this section of the Capitol who are just, like they said, just walking in and checking it out? It's the same idea. You're just saying it in like some way so it makes us look bad.
What? Okay. Eucharist. Eucharist and gender Chris.
God.
You hold on. Can I rebut to that?
Yeah.
You explicitly. I don't feel like I need to, but I want to. You were explicitly laying out the narrative of now the left is trying to make us look bad with this. I'm pretty sure that's everything left of neoliberalism, which is conservative by my metrics. So I don't think this is necessarily a right versus left argument like you're making it out to be. You're condemning it as well. I'm condemning it too. I'm saying BLM protesters that got violent and raided are probably bad as well. Yeah. Are you surprised by that? Like, I don't know what's so hard about condemning violence on your side.
Oh my God.
Well.
Like, normal takes? Like, what the fuck?
This is a
family-owned businesses burnt down or the Capitol?
This is a MAGA cult versus everybody fucking meme, okay? And responsible fucking Republicans, of which I'm not convinced there are many, but if you want to prove yourself one, right?
What would you rather see?
You need
would
to
you rather see family-owned businesses burn down, or would you rather see the Capitol burn down? Which of the two would you rather see burn down? Family-owned businesses or the Capitol?
None.
I care more about
seeing the equivocation betwing the two.
Would you rather see the Capitol burn down or family-owned businesses?
Why can't we just say both?
None of the above. I pick none of the above.
Who has better insurance?
Wait.
if you had to choose, like if you had a gun to your head,
the amount of harm that can come to that. When you're talking about family-owned business, you're probably talking about a small business, very likely, and the direct harm to that exact person at that business versus, say, the Capitol, who no one really owns a business other than the people per se. I'm not saying that the Capitol didn't happen was bad, but if you're trying to
People's House, right?
I would rather have. I'm not. Well, no, I'm gonna be very careful how I'm saying this. But if I had to pick between the two, I would prefer that none be burned down personally. But if I had to pick between the Capitol and the fucking family-owned business, I would hope that the family-owned business wouldn't. I'd prefer that over the Capitol.
Why are we
If
going
that
down
makes
this line?
sense.
I don't.
It's just a very silly question.
Like, yeah, people are constantly
silly
comparing like
question.
which one is worse like 3 times now. It's really weird. They're just both
Well, they're
bad.
comparing which one is worse because Republicans want to do this kind of like weird whataboutism that somehow they're absolved of like the responsibility that they share in allowing this narrative to propagate within their ranks, right? Even if you're not a crazy batshit MAGA cultist, you're still voting for and supporting the party that embraces them, right? They want to do this whataboutism of, oh, well, the BLM riots were violent too, and now so we're just absolved of any kind of wrongdoing or responsibility, right?
And see,
I don't. No. If the BLM riots, right, were just fucking like people roving the country, marauding and murdering people in their fucking homes, it still wouldn't make J6 okay. It still wouldn't make what the Republican Party is doing with the MAGA cult okay. So who cares? Who cares what happened with BLM? Let's talk about J6 and the fucking Capitol insurrection.
Were more important than the Capitol riots. I believe that police murdering people.
Oh, we're talking about January 6th. Let's talk about January 6th.
Yeah,
we can have another panel. We can have another panel about BLM and the riots that happened there, but we're talking about January 6th tonight.
Yeah,
one is part of a one is part of an.
Go
oh, sorry,
go ahead. No,
one is part of an ongoing struggle for Black people's civil rights in this country that has had various fucking flare-ups. The other is the result of a relatively new, right, slowly growing narrative that threatens to overturn your democracy, right? And I think that we can talk about these things in separate conversations without trying to draw equivocations between them.
It's not like this channel doesn't bring up BLM all the fucking time. Don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. When it comes, shit on BLM, you'll have the I will guarantee you it'll happen. Let's focus on this. Let's go to Eucharist.
Eucharist is dying.
All right.
Yeah.
This is like a fucking hour ago at this point. Man, Roadman said some shit that I just had to fight with, right? Roadman was like, there are some people and they got a little riled up. Come the fuck on, my dude. All right, so I linked this in the chat earlier. I'm gonna link it in the chat right now. Right, there's a friend of mine, a friend that I went to undergrad with. She is a conservative journalist who was in the Capitol on January 6th, and she wrote for the Dispatch, a conservative publication today, on like what it was like to be in the Capitol that day, like handing out gas masks, Capitol Police being like, hey, by the way, there are people in the rotunda, like y'all got to be ready to evacuate. Lawmakers, like, let's be ready. Like she almost didn't get out of the chamber. Like the article is just insane, right? The first person perspective of what it was like to be in the Capitol that day is fucking insane. And to say, oh, some people got a little riled up is just fucking bonkers to me, right? People feared for their lives legitimately for good reason, because as she left the building, as she was evacuated from the building, she passed graffiti that said murder journalist. She passed people who were saying hang Mike Pence, right? She's a journalist. She's a Republican. She likes Mike Pence. She'd interviewed Mike Pence.
Wait,
right?
was it murder the media?
This is the shit that was going on, right? So like some people got a little riled up kind of bullshit just fucking blows my mind. I'm on the right. Like at this point I have no like sympathy for Republicans, right? But in the same sense that many of my friends who are also on the right, many of my friends who work in the Capitol, many of my friends who still work for Republican lawmakers still today, because like they can't say it publicly because they risk their jobs, but like are just like, God, fuck this bullshit, right? Like if this is the right, I don't want any part of it. I'm looking for another job. They don't have it yet, but they're working on it, right? So God fucking damn it, fuck this. Some people got a little riled up bullshit, dude. People feared for their fucking lives. Right wingers fucking feared for their fucking lives inside the Capitol, right? So like I can't imagine the state of mind you have to be in to think this was legitimate, this was good, this was fine, this is perfect, right? And the I'm just protesting. I'm just like this is what democracy is. No, not at all. Like there's no sense in which you can support, right, the breaking of windows, the beating of cops, and the storming of the seat of your government to attempt to intimidate the vice president into not certifying an election that was already set in stone, right? So Trump and his cadre used faux legal arguments, memos, and everything else to try to say that there was a case to be made that we could throw out the votes that had been cast and then we could keep him in office. That was the goal, right? So people will say like, oh, if this was a coup, if this was a violent revolution, why didn't they bring guns, etc.? I don't think that was the goal. I don't think the goal was like to stage a French-style revolution. I think the goal was to intimidate Mike Pence into not certifying the election, into keeping Trump in office. And Trump really, genuinely, delusionally thought that that could happen. That was the goal, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen because some people did their job. All right, so yeah,
because Mike Pence did his job.
This noise, revolution attempt was not successful does not mean it was not still an attempt.
I am no big fan of Mike Pence, but if Mike Pence hadn't held the line, I do fear for what fucking happened that day.
Yeah,
right?
what would have happened if Mike Pence had been convinced by John Eastman wrote a memo that was like, here's the legal argument for the vice president being able to not certify the election results. If Mike Pence had bought that shit, what the fuck would have happened to the American Republic? I fear for what would have happened. Yes, this is the only time Viv and I have ever agreed. Oh my god, yes.
That's not true. We agree on a lot of things, and it is.
This is the second time we've agreed, Viv.
And keep this cred as a Republican. I mean, honestly, like,
and mentioning and mentioning.
I don't need any cred. I'm a registered independent. Okay.
And mentioning the fears.
Here's another shocking. Here's another shocking thing for anybody who isn't aware. I just want to get this in real quick, Viv. I promise. Like, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not contentious. I want people to understand this, okay? As a conservative here, I really agree with Eucharist in this, in the sense that, look, I'm not going to sit here and downplay. I'm not going to say that it's good. I am critical of looking at January 6th just because I'm trying to make sure that it's done correctly, not with emotion, but with critical analysis. And yes, like, those people who fear for their life, and it is a sad state of affairs that we have come down to this. Now that the Republican Party has to bear this burden, and then I now, as a reasonable conservative, have to be lumped in with these fucking idiots is fucking hard for me, okay, as a conservative. Okay, anyway, yeah. I'm done.
And just I just wanted to highlight what fucking Eucharist was saying. Like, when I mentioned the poll workers earlier, right? Like, it's not just Democratic poll workers leaving, it's Republican poll workers leaving, right? It's Republican poll workers who, like, there was a Republican poll worker who was like literally singled out by Trump, who had to get like had to move, right? Had to get different, had to get security, all that kind of shit, right? Republican poll workers are being threatened as well. There was that wild fucking story about like Kanye West's people coming to them going, we know there's something terrible going to happen to you, because they wanted to like whisk them away and get them to admit to some kind of voter fraud. It was fucking wild, right? Because Kanye West's in on this fuking bullshit as well.
Let's go to Dan, Gender,
terrifying.
Chris. Yeah.
Can I jump in after?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I offered a solution that I think should have happened before the January 6th, such as the heavily moderation of much of the community building with these Trump cult-like fake people with QAnon and other extreme groups. Were able to communicate with each other through Facebook and other platforms, and end up coordinating eventually what became the January 6th. If given the chance that they followed their procedure of the rules of Facebook, we'd probably been a lot less, not be talking about January 6th, but talking about like the ruffling that happened with a lot of people getting angry in front of the Capitol that day. So it's just, I think with this, a lot of lessons should have been learned that like companies themselves who run social media sites do have something to play in trying to stop people from committing like organized violence against the government. And to me, like, the corporate itself, like such as Facebook, should have been at least have some culpability with January 6th also, and probably should happen the resignation of like Mark Zuckerberg and have someone else take over, because God, that man has been there too long and obviously have made a lot of problems much worse due to techno-libertarianism.
Do you not feel you shouldn't? Do you feel that you shouldn't worship the powers that be?
What do you mean?
Like the powers that be.
What's
like
that
God?
mean? What does that mean?
That's very specific.
So
Like
Allah,
like
like the other, the Hindu gods.
No.
Odin,
I mean,
Well, it's
like,
actually one god.
Are we in an episode of Angel all of a sudden?
You mean he means the government?
There's only one
institutions.
god, and oh, it's shit. Oh fuck.
This
I can't do that. That's
It's really obvious. He
it's a
means
philosophical
governmental
statement.
institutions.
Correct. It's a philosophical.
Oh, like the
I thought he
man?
meant like the technology
The man,
companies. I don't know.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No. But the powers that be, like for example, we have numbers on our ID. We're all just numbers, right? To a factory that's being produced. So should we not always worship the ones in power?
The institutions of power.
No, we always have the right to question our institutions, and actually ought to have reformed so that we can make these institutions almost better without having them oppress other people's rights. That's what I would say about it than to have a distrust for anything that is government related.
Why do we deserve that?
So let's go. I want to move on to our genders. We're waiting patiently. Gender Chris and Ajax, excuse me.
All right. So I guess 3 quick things. I'm just gonna quickly finish off our last conversation, move into a quick shill for Prime because he needs it. Nudge, nudge, wink, wonk. So that's coming up. And then my actual point. So to finish up the last one, I'd have to say we need to recognize that each and every individual is very much imperfect. And in a system overall, although for the most part we may not behave the same, we behave similar enough. That's sort of literally where most of the trends for casinos come through, or the entire study of statistics.
Speak for yourself.
But for the most part, we're imperfect beings trying to make a paragon of not only a perfect system, but a perfect individual that we should strive to become. And according to each person, that's also different. Yeah, according to each person, that's very different. So it's very hard to make such a broad and generalizable standard of an individual. But through social expectations, we have made our own straw men that we all try and achieve, whether toxic or not. It changes with time, but that's a whole other side tangent. One thing that we should realize is that when teaching about Jan 6, it is a very good use of understanding the use of political violence as an individual and as a leader of a political movement. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to make a mention to another riot of political violence. So a while back, we had this small little movement, all right? It was because of a large-scale police brutality upon a select group of individuals. But this group of individuals decided, you know what? Fuck it. We've had enough of this, and started to riot. This riot leaked into the streets of New York City. This riot was essentially created because of the bubbling environment of an issue that was left untreated. It was socio-systemic, basically. And this socio-systemic issue was actually the Stonewall riots back in, 1969? So the source behind that, the justification for their political violence were these socio-systemic issues. But as we can see, just because you have a motive doesn't really give it justifiable motive. So another action of political violence caused through a myriad of external factors would be Jan 6th. How this manifested, unlike Stonewall, was a manifestation of something called false consciousness, or something that you're more familiar with. It's called manufactured outrage, in which they were told or pushed to the point through another person's rhetoric that this was a justifiable feeling. They further stoked those feelings, and then they reinforced those feelings. But they did it in this situation, at least, in a controlled enough manner that it did cause although not major, minor and substantial damage to not the physical construct of the nation, but the sense of identity of the nation itself. Something that once stood for democracy, peace, and freedom, now, ironically enough, through a protest gone awry, we can say at least, it has shown not only the faults of potential faults of unregulated rhetoric in a democracy and what that can do to a democracy itself, because these vulnerabilities don't really exist for autocracies or countries that don't really take part in these like democratic processes as I guess with as patriotism as Americans or Canadians would do. That's my point.
Can I respond to this?
Sure.
Yeah, I understand you're trying to that comparison of the Stonewall riots to the January 6th as to be comparable to the kind of mutual feeling of people going around
this is
with their
bastardization.
Yeah. However, I mean, I don't think that's like the best example. They're like the 1864 draft riots are probably way more prevalent to something that would make more sense, and even other riots like the Bonus Army, as I mentioned earlier, that have more of a case of specifically explaining about just a cause where people show up and where they literally have to resort to violence to get to explain why they have to get what their issue is. And I don't get wrong with the same for January 6th. They think the only option for them now is violence.
I mean, I don't think
their election was stolen, and I think not that wasn't caused by just general feeling of the mineral people that, as you mentioned before, but I think it was just because of the rhetoric and the kind of like beliefs that they had already, such as QAnon, where the only option to much of these QAnon people is violence. To that, it was the cause to it than to the general attestation, as you mentioned before.
I don't think you disagree with Gender Juice. I think Gender Juice is basically just saying what you said before, that there's like, narratives prevalent in society that bring people to this point. And, in this case, it's a narrative that is unjustified, that is like manufactured or whatever. And in the case of the Stonewall riots, it was one that was more self-evident because of the way that LGBT people were being treated.
Yeah, he was using the Stonewall riots as the rule, whereas January 6th is the exception.
Okay. And like, don't get me wrong, I do understand you're like bringing up more accurate examples. The only reason why I brought up Stonewall is, well, for two main reasons actually. One, it was similar enough, such as like the reason why more people started to join the streets was because of something more akin to a locust effect. That was something that you can parallel with the like Jan 6 insurrection or whatever you want to call it. But the main reason is just because it's something that we're taught in history and is sort of fresh in the minds of most people, because there are still people alive that have experienced the AIDS epidemic, Stonewall riots, so on and so forth. But like,
and it's generally viewed as good, right? Which is the other interesting thing, right? Whereas like the J6 riots will hopefully go down in history as being a colossal fucking disaster.
I generally don't really like to view riots as being a good thing, but like I do want to point as reminders of current policies that could easily have been fixed before such event has happened.
Well, I disagree. Like the Stonewall riots were a good thing. Like it wasn't a good thing that people were pushed to that point, but no, the Stonewall riots were an extremely fucking good thing.
Well, violence, although shouldn't be promoted, is sometimes justifiable. But like in a system itself, it should not be advocated for or ideally used. But I mean, we have a police force, we have military force. In certain circumstances, we do understand sometimes it's necessary, but like over abuse does occur.
Who started the Stonewall riots, right? Like you could say it was the fucking whoever threw the first brick, right? There's some debate about that, but like whoever threw the first brick or shard of glass, I would say the people who started the Stonewall riot were the police who busted into the fucking Stonewall Inn and started sexually assaulting, beating, stripping naked, etc. the patrons who were there, right?
Yeah.
That's who started the fucking Stonewall riot. And when the state starts a riot, the only fucking response, in my opinion, is violence.
Yeah, I don't agree that it. I mean, I do think it's a lesson that did happen, and that at least to say we know what caused it and exactly the result of that happened. But I think it should have at least give a lesson to things of trying to prevent things from happening.
Actually, let me strike that from the record. You could do non-violent resistance as well, a la Gandhi. So yeah, not always only violence, but some form of resistance is called for.
Violence is effective, yeah.
So,
bring that up, but
so I do want to move because there's a few people waiting. Chris has been waiting very patiently, as always. And then Ajax and you, Chris. And then we have a new person, I guess, is it Slipstream, right? I'll put you in the list. I'm assuming you want to have something to say. So please, Chris.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything to that because I had no opinion on it. I wanted to talk about it, something Doghouse had said, which I think was a good point. Like, when it comes to these far right or like MAGA code, like QAnon people, like how do you even like address someone like that on your side to like bring them down to from the craziness that they're like, spouting, right? And I think there's this like separation from the Republicans and the Democrats. With they have these skills that they have that both parties could use if they implemented them, right? The Republicans have I'd say Democrats have a great skill in suppressing their leftist demographic, right? They have this unparalleled skill to just not give in to the leftists in their party, right? And they'll make all the excuses. They give lip service, but nothing ever comes of it, right? It comes from when it comes with the Republicans, right? Or I didn't finish. The Democrats can't fight Republicans to save their life. I don't know what it is, right? We get lucky in the elections and we get this sort of power, but even the more right-leaning people in the Democratic Party, we have for some reason no way to fight these people, or just no will to fight these people. Where it comes in the Republican Party, right? They can fight Democrats all day, right? They have an unparalleled skill to do that. They've proven that they can do that for over a decade now, and for some reason the far right constituents in their party, right, they don't fight back against them at all. They don't suppress them at all, right? They embrace them full steam ahead. I don't know why. Even though, like Doghouse said, you can clearly see someone spouting some insane shit, right? Wanting to hang Mike Pence or something like that. But you still have those lawmakers who defend these people. They make excuses for them.
The problem.
A lot of people in these parties are still aligned with these people, right?
So
you can denounce them, but you're not doing anything.
Yeah, and to hit on that point, I think for me, as a conservative, what you're talking about, there are ways that me as someone that's, say, in Texas in a particular district could try to, talk to some of these congressmen, but there's only limited things that you can really do other than short of your own district, your own state. If I've got somebody that's in Florida, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a good example, I can't do nothing about that, at least electing her wise. I can elect somebody in my district or my state that could combat that. That's a valid way to do it. But I'm very limited in how I can change the congressional landscape. Now, if you want to talk about rhetoric and the normal person like me and you talking, that's completely different, a lot more easy to do. I can easily sit there and talk with you, but I'm telling you that the people who I've met that actually probably would sympathize with those violent protesters, not just the peaceful, but the violent protesters, they're already, in my opinion, too far gone. I can try to have a conversation with them, but they're almost as bad as anti-vaxxers at this point.
Well, here's another thing though. Prime played a video before this started, right, where you have just regular Republican people, right, still claiming that the election was rigged and was stolen, right? And saying all sorts of crazy shit, right? Still, these people, you can still find videos of tons of people still agreeing, statistics of people agreeing with some part of the QAnon conspiracy, right?
Mhm.
Just regular people. Why is that's allowed to fester and grow with barely any pushback? Even though you have conservatives and Republicans who come on these platforms and denounce those things, but is that denounced? Is those denouncing things or a pushback going on in real time, in real life, right? Where that does happen when it comes to Democrats. Like, we constantly debate and like criticize each other all the time, push back against each other all the time, right? Even on small things, and like to the point where we can barely get anything done because we don't agree. But
the problem is, Chris, that like, the left within the Democratic Party is like a small part of it, whereas what was it, like 70-something% of Republicans believed the big lie that the election was stolen, right? The problem is that the mad conspiracist fringe that everybody wants to paint as just being the extremes of the Republican Party, like, there are so many unreal fucking things that they believe that actually a huge amount of Republicans also believe, right? So that they're far too intertwined with the Republican Party already. The CRT fucking bullshit is everywhere among quote unquote moderate, reasonable Republicans, and it's just Judeo-Bolshevism.
I want
There's
to
also
push back
there's
against
also
that a
an
little
issue
bit though,
when
because I
something
want
gets
to push
labeled
back
as a
against Viv real
conspiracy
quick on
theory.
that.
It's
Because I
automatically
think
false.
the thing is with Viv, like I would say that when it comes to Republicans and saying that 77% of Republicans believe in the big lie, I don't know what this poll is, but I would say that I would ask to what degree they believe in it. I think if, like, for example, there's lip talk, right, where somebody just sits there and tries to say what they think their constituents want to hear, and then there's someone who actually believes in it. If you were to tell me that MTG was to believe in the big lie, I'd probably believe that she believes it to the fullest extent, maybe. But if you were to ask me if, like, say, someone who is a no-name in the Congress believes in it, I'd be more inclined to believe that they're just saying that for lip service. Now, this is just an inclination. There's no proof to back this up, but I would be curious to what degree they believe.
I'm talking about the voter base, dude.
Yeah,
like
regular
leftists say
Congress.
leftists say, we want to fucking we want to nationalize everything, blah blah blah, right? These aren't common opinions.
That's if you add more nuance to that, like if you ask like a normal person, like, do you believe what was the question? Can you post the poll just so I can look at it instead of like assuming what it may or may not be? Like, I'm just curious, or maybe I can look it up and see.
Sure,
I'm just curious to what the question was asked. And
just Google like poll Republicans believe election stolen, and you'll find a number of them. And the number, in the immediate wake of January 6th for the next sort of like month or so is around 70%. I haven't looked at it recently. I don't know what it is
in
now.
In the video that I played before this, it was 70%. They talked about people who believe the election was not free and whatever, free and something, but free and fair. That's what it is.
Free and fair.
70% is a supermajority, not a fringe.
Yeah, of Republicans.
No, I agree. But the question, like the free and fair thing, like if they're just asking if it's free and fair, I don't know if that's necessarily like again to what Viv said earlier, like with the people that are taking over the election polls. If you were to ask Democrats and say this was to be a very widespread thing and told that the people are going to be, the Republicans are going to take it over, do you think that this would flip then in the other adverse and say that, hey, do you as a Democrat believe this is free and fair? Probably would say no. I think that free and fair is like very vague. It doesn't give much detail, and it lacks nuance. I don't know if I could draw from that that's a belief in the big lie supposedly, and even then I would say, to what degree do they believe?
Sure, I would agree with you, but there's multiple polls that were conducted over that period with multiple different questions. They all came up with like around the 70% number. Like,
I have a feeling if you change the language, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doghouse.
So before, hold on, sorry, I gotta move on to other people. Brant for Liberty, thank you for so kindly rating us to 56 individuals. Hello, hi. I'm not sure if we met before, but
oh God, Brant for Liberty.
Okay, I don't know who this person is, but I thank you for being so kind and sharing your audience with me. Hello, everyone who just came in. My name is Prime. We do this panel type thing, right? All the time. This is an open panel. All members like you, yes, you, sing at home, may participate. If you're interested in doing something like that, right? We have panels every day, right? Closed panels, open panels, 1v1 battles, do all kinds of stuff here, right? But 6 nights a week we have content here for you, political content. Right now we're talking about the January 6th riot type thing, which everyone's talking about, so it's not special. But the difference here is that you can actually give your opinion as well. So anyway, if any of that sounds interesting, do me a favor, hit that follow button right now. Hit that follow button, making sure the notifications are on so you know I'm going live. I do this 6 nights a week, all right? So if you stick around, check out the content, but hit that follow button because I think you're going to really enjoy it. Again, thank you, Brant, for Liberty, for being so kind as to do that. It's a really kind raid from you. Very much appreciate it. All right, let's get back to this. I got it. There's a few people who've been waiting, so let's get Ajax, Eucharist, Slip, Cricket, Gender.
Yeah, so I wanted to respond to something that Euchre said earlier. Unfortunately, he's not here, but I think it's really, really important that we acknowledge that if the election was stolen, that all of these January 6th rioters, like, I mean, I wouldn't say did the correct thing, but it's understandable why they were there. And like, really, this should only be about misinformation and how much like part of the country is like on a completely different wavelength when it comes to facts. Like, if we're talking about like anti-COVID vaxxers, for instance, most people that are anti-COVID vaxxers aren't anti-vax in general, they're anti-COVID vax. And that's just because they live in such a different reality when it comes to specific political talking points that people peddle, depending on which side you're on. And I could say the same for people that are on like the far left, right? Where they just live in a completely different reality in terms of information. Like I was literally watching this guy the other day that was just denying like the Uyghur genocide in China. He's like a really far left tanky, and it's just like insane that he lives on like this entirely different plane of existence when it comes to factual things that exist. And yeah, it's just really important that we address how different facts are being presented in the world, because that's kind of like the whole context of why January 6th matters.
And as I think you would agree with that, right? I think his main point was the downplaying of it. I don't think we can all see that like misinformation and people falling into these like traps is a big problem. But like when it comes to a lot of people on the right, when it comes to this incident, right, a lot of them will downplay this, make it seem like it's not that big of a deal. Why are we still talking about this a year later? Why should we make this that big a deal, right? And I think that's more of his main point, and like what this really means when it comes to like our democracy, the history of America, like how do we treat this, right? Like, I don't think he would disagree with you.
Yeah, I just
and to that note, leftists shit on tankies just as much as everybody else.
No, I know they do. I know they do.
It's a difference that I'm pointing
out. I feel like pity and empathy for these people that just live in these different factual universes, because it's almost in a way it might not even be their fault that they were pushed into conspiracies. I think we should just do our best to try to help these people. I mean, obviously, I'm not absolving them of crimes, obviously. But
yeah, echo chambers are way stronger. Like, no matter what platform you're on, you're gonna be like surrounded by people that agree with you, and that's why I struggle with trying to like reach out to people who like I disagree with and try to hear them out once in a while. A lot of times,
you're
here. I am here,
but at the end of the day,
but like on TikTok, right? Like the 90% of like what I hear is like socialist, communist kind of stuff or whatever, like memes about it, whatever. But like occasionally I'll follow like Republicans or people just to hear once in a while like what they have to say or what they're screaming about. Just to like sometimes they're right, and I have to listen to them. And
but by the way,
it's hard to reach out.
At the end of the day, all your beliefs come from sources that could have been tainted in some way, shape, or form based on money or threats.
That's right. We shouldn't believe in it.
I mean, influence has influence everywhere. Influence exists in inverse square, in which like it's concentrated at the source, but the more it ripples out in a larger and larger space, the more it's going to interact. One belief, it coincides and interacts with another belief if they're not in echo chambers. If they are in echo chambers, well, that's just going to bounce off the walls and go back in again. That exact same point is going to be like spoken again and again. But then it becomes a game of telephone, because any new beliefs, whether radical one way or another relative to that single piece of rhetoric, it can add sort of the best way to put it would be actually noise pollution, because that single point was like not in the original chamber, but that single point would exist back and forth, but then when it's introduced, that becomes a part of the new point, you know? Sort of a ship of Theseus of ideology. But sorry, I am gonna loop back a little bit. Because like I feel like we've gotten to like a really, really unique point of the question that revolves around January 6th. So when it comes to the insurrectioners, protesters, whatever you want to call them, how much of that responsibility of being misinformed and like acting in false consciousness through manufactured consent, how much of that blame can we actually push onto the people that have committed such acts? So I'm for like this specific situation, for like making a Euclidean plane. This hypothetical individual is somebody that was very active, engaged with January 6th, and actively wanting to break into Congress. Think of the stereotype. But how much of that blame and false consent, blah, 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 mind bullshit, should that blame be onto that individual, or should it fall onto the major nodes of those sources of information? Like the person that kept on saying, I lost the election, this is false, they rigged it against me, we're missing, I fucking forgot the number of votes from like this one state or whatever you call them. But yeah,
Millions.
so
Millions.
like, yeah,
Are we talking morally, legally, civilly? What kind of blame are we talking? Like, if you
I
just,
guess
like,
first let's talk off like ethically, because laws and ethics don't really go like hand in hand, but you build a law off of the ethics of the situation. So ethically speaking, how much of the responsibility of the misinformed can be shifted or shared with the people that have sort of influence in individual or a mass of individuals' actions?
Yeah, but who decides what misinformed is? Like, you could just assume that the information is incorrect. Like, I'm sure there's some facts that we can all agree upon, but once you start talking about, oh, you're misinformed, as time goes on and they're proven to be right, now you're the one who's going to look like you're misinformed. You know what I mean?
Here's the interesting question. Do you guys believe that the government has the power to rig an election without the American populace knowing about it? You believe that they have that power?
No.
Theoretically, probably. Depends on their social power and like how much they've infiltrated and are able to overturn democratic processes.
Yeah, let me explain something. I think that this whole thing, like, I'm not saying that governments aren't above and possible. The problem I have with my fellow conservatives and some lefties, and maybe it depends on the topic, is this idea of the boogeyman government. And in reality, and I don't just say this in like the World War II kind of, but I'm talking about like the kind of conspiracy theories I hear from my own side of like the collusion that has to happen in order to suppress the civilians. It's just like you'd have to have so many working things, and I don't see how Republicans can yield any power in a Congress where literally right now Democrats basically control all of it, or at least in the House, and the Senate's a toss up. So I think that the most simplest solution is the best, and I'm not going to sit here and try to say that I just don't think it's possible. I think
if you wanted to overturn an election, you would have to convince like multiple poll workers and poll certifiers across like tons of states, across tons of counties. I just think if you like wanted
them
to do
with
it,
people who already agree with you, right? Which is what they're trying to do.
right? But I think if you wanted to like, I don't know, like systematically overturn an election through legal process by like convincing a lot of poll workers, a lot of like poll certifiers, I think it would be a hard thing to do. And that's my argument, because you have to do it across multiple states, across many counties. I don't think it's just feasible.
No, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here is you're going to have...
You don't have to do that.
It only has to be in the purple states, really.
Yeah, and only a few key counties. You actually don't have to do President Biden won by 7 million votes, right? That's what he said, like today, or yesterday, during his conference, right? His statement, 7 million votes. But that's like not actually how it works because of the bullshit electoral college. He actually won, was it by like 33,000 votes or something? All right, like spread across like the battleground states. That's all you have to tip. You don't have to tip the whole thing. I believe it was 33,000. So
but you would have to predict beforehand. You would have to predict beforehand where those battleground counties are.
You already know.
I feel like
you already know.
You wouldn't have to predict.
You already know.
We already know. Yeah.
Yeah, we already know.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, the one problem I have with this idea is that the whole election fraud claim is going to sway with what I'll call the loser effect or whatever, where as soon as somebody loses, people who are rooting for that team, because unfortunately this is how politics is nowadays, is going to claim some kind of meddling that happened. If it's the Republicans that lose, the Republicans are going to create these wacky ass claims about election fraud. It happened in 2016, granted not to the extent that we saw with the 2020 elections. I think that's mostly in part, though, that more people are getting politically involved and in the wrong direction, not just simply politically involved. And so I predict that in the future, we're going to see that ramp up even more. We're going to see more people that claim it's fraud and everything else. And the way that we resolve this, honestly, is to put a water on the fucking fire that's called politics in our fucking country. Okay?
Let's.
I don't know what the fuck that means. I think that is the most vapid statement you've made all night. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be antagonistic.
Look,
it's just
it's
nothing. You're not saying anything.
Well, I'm just saying because it's. I just don't like this. I just don't like the whole pointing fingers at which side's claiming voter fraud when both sides are gonna end up fucking doing it. At the end of the day,
Right, but one side is actually doing it.
Yeah,
and it's the Republicans.
What are you talking about? To what? Okay. My point of what I'm trying to get at here is no, because you're saying just the Republicans, and I don't want to get into this debate about who's doing what voter fraud because it's honestly it's
well, I mean,
points to Democrats and points to Republicans.
No.
Well, hey, if you don't care about democracy, that's perfectly fine, Dog Show. I
care
do.
about democracy. I care about the fucking temperature that's in our fucking country, and I wish that the temperature would fucking come down so that we don't have a bunch of fucking.
Okay, but the temperature is really
anytime they lose.
The temperature is really, really high, right? And it's causing people to attempt to undermine the fucking election. Okay, you can't just say, "Oh, I wish the temperature would come down."
So are you saying that the Republicans are trying to do
that?
voter fraud, right?
The Republicans are actively taking away the vote from minorities, right? This it's like not something new. It's the project
So
that they had for decades.
Do Democrats also meddle in voter fraud at all, by any chance?
After January 6th,
Sure.
there's been many states and legislatures who have taken away voter rights from people for election security.
Yeah.
Over this past year, you can look at it.
But if you're talking about, if you care about the integrity of the vote, integrity of the vote means a lot of things. One, like if you're saying that, have Democrats actually, engage in voter fraud, absolutely positive. I'm sure of it, absolutely. Yeah. But like the bigger issue is that the how Republicans usually do it, rather than like tampering with a few votes here and there, they say, no, this whole group of people, they're suddenly ineligible to vote, right? Does it happen to disproportionately fall in the black community and minorities? A complete coincidence. They were dead voters. And we were just clearing the voting polls, right? Oh, did we happen to hit some living voters? Uncomfortable. Hey, you can re-register. Now you're only going to find out about this on election day when you go to vote, right? And then you go to vote and you're like, oh well, you're not registered, and then we'll charge you with fraud. Right there. So there's that too.
Well, I remember very vividly.
That's true.
They need an ID,
I remember.
Can't get an ID,
I remember
so they can't vote.
Prior to prior to the 2020 elections. I remember when Donald Trump was supposedly messing with the USPS. Now I know that there's a whole bunch of things that go into that. I'm aware of the nuance of it. What I'm saying though is, generally speaking, there was claims that Donald Trump was messing with the USPS, and this was messing with the voter fraud or messing with the election and everything else. Now, I'm not trying to make a claim, but I guess I'm going to make it, is that it didn't work out too well. So at the same time of what I'm trying to say here is, at the end of the day, both sides are going to make voter fraud claims.
No, you're wrong. It did. It backfired on him.
How did it work?
Donald Trump is a No, it did work, right? But he's a fucking, because remember, because this part's important. Donald Trump is a fucking moron, right? And so what he doesn't realize, his voting population is elderly. They use mail-in ballots. Right, he's been trashing mail-in ballots the entire time, right? And the the postal system, right? And like reducing service, and then so like it's very possible, right? It's very possible that if he had not done that, the difference in mail-in voting ballots, remember, because he only lost by a very thin margin in key areas, he might have actually been able to make up that difference. It did work, but the fucking moron got himself unelected. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
I mean, this is so a lot of this shit that you mentioned, Prime. Like, I don't want to discount it, but it is stuff that's been happening for fucking decades or whatever, you know. And we can talk about gerrymandering. We can talk about like all the ways in which like both the Democratic and Republican parties like undermine free and fair elections. Of course, what I'm talking about, right, is a new surge driven by insane fucking narratives, right, of conspiracism that is leading people to threaten election workers, both on the left and the right, and replace them with members of the MAGA cult in order to undermine the midterms and the election in 2024. This is a concerted effort that we're seeing going on, right? We're not just talking about like minor instances of some random fucking Democratic supporters group chucking in a few extra 100 ballots or whatever. We're talking about a coordinated effort from a decentralized cult, right, attempting to undermine your democracy. They're not the same fucking thing, Doghouse. Not even remotely.
So Doghouse, I want to give you a chance to respond, but I want to get to you, Chris. You're not here. We'll then Slip afterwards. Okay, let's go to Slip because he's been waiting. Okay, you go then we'll go to Slip. Right? Go ahead.
No, go Slip. It's cool.
All right, Slip, please.
Hello. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I just pretty much joined the chat a little bit late, but from what I heard, it was a pretty interesting discussion. January 6th was tumultuous time, and I'm just kind of looking forward to hear more. I wish I could contribute a little bit, but I'll just have to pass off the mic for now.
Oh, don't worry. We'll take your time. We're happy to have you here, and we're waiting.
Nice to have you, buddy. Chill. We're all lovely, really. Probably, maybe.
For the most part.
There's nothing to be scared of. That's what I'm saying.
That's a lie coming from Vivian.
Yeah,
fuck you.
I can't actually back any of those statements. So let's
to
cricket.
clarify my point. So
Okay.
I just want to wrap it up, put it in a bow tie, and then we can move on. My whole point of this wasn't necessarily getting to the nuances of who's doing more election fraud meddling, who's doing it currently, or who's doing it in the past. My point of what I'm trying to say here is that it's almost in essence a useless topic. I'm willing to engage with the conversation still, but it just seems like it's a useless topic because it's just going to come as the wind blows. And that's kind of what my point was. But there you go, wrapped up in bow tie.
Okay. We never talk about anything then because it's just going to happen regardless of what we say on this panel. Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's fine.
Let's. Okay. But thank you. Thank you for that. Let's go to Cracker. You had your hand up a long time before. You might. Like the look on your face tells me you forgot what you were going to say, and then after that, Chris. So go ahead. Cricket. It's gonna be Cricket, not Cracker. Did I call you Cracker? Fuck.
Yeah.
No, like that.
You did not say Carly. You just said. You're gonna get CIA. I'm sorry.
See you later.
RIP the Prime panel.
Sorry, I did not mean to do that. I swear to God, I didn't mean to. I wasn't any sort of crack at you or anything. Anyway.
Freudian whoopsie, it's all right.
One person, please go talk.
Somebody else.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say, that this obviously I'm jumping back in topics like 15 minutes, but when we were talking about like why it's hard to combat misinformation, and I was gonna say that I think a big part of it is because there's a moralizing component to that misinformation, and people who think that they're engaged in a good versus evil struggle are going to be very resistant to having their beliefs challenged by what they believe is the evil side.
Yeah, when you look at that pathology of these people, they're basically going, I am fighting evil.
It's not different from religion at all.
Yeah, it's, they basically feel like they're
You're cutting
morally
out.
obligated to do it.
You're
Sorry
cutting
about
out.
that.
You might, yeah, say a little closer to mic. Yeah, please.
Right. So you can present them with all the information that you want, and they're because they're looking at it through that moralizing lens. I think you have to break through that first in order to even get them to be receptive at all to the information that you'd like to give them.
That's because you're thinking about it.
Crusaders of the truth.
Yeah, we do refer to like QAnon and stuff as a new religious movement. Like this isn't new stuff, but you're thinking about stuff on an individual level, and like this is a problem that has to be addressed in society holistically. You have to come at it from all angles. You can't just argue somebody away from their position. You have to change the environmental factors that led to their position, right? And this is a really, really fucking complicated thing that we have to try and struggle with.
I think that what I was saying applies both on a societal level and on an individual level. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you had to divest that moral argument from the logical one of the election was rigged. It's two separate arguments, and there's no morality in that. Like, if the election was rigged, no individual Democrat is responsible for that, and you would have to rationalize that before you ever got past the morality.
But we're also kind of fucked because we let it get to this point. Like I started talking about QAnon like 3 years ago. There were like a decent amount of other cult researchers that were doing the same. There were some people that were doing it way before me with much bigger profiles, right? And nobody was fucking listening. Everybody was just like, oh yeah, QAnon, some fringe dipshit cult, right? And it is really, really fucking frustrating because there are definitely like people out there who are consistently sounding the alarm, consistently correct about the direction in which these kinds of things are headed, and it's only when something like J6 happens that everybody starts wringing their fucking hands going, oh, how could we have seen this coming? Like bullshit. People saw this coming fucking 2 years before it happened, okay? And I'm sick of us just not listening. So the stuff I'm saying about the poll workers now in 2022 and 2024, when it fucking happens, they'll be wringing their hands going, I don't know how this could have fucking happened. How was there so much violence around the 2024 election? How did we lose so many fucking seats in the midterms? Why is there so many claims of voter fraud, etc.? Like it keeps happening, and it's perfectly foreseeable.
And all of that was built on decades of escalating tension that preceded it, where all this moralizing stuff comes in. Yeah.
See, this is what I'm talking about right here. Like, it can't just be that the election is that, hey, look, we don't like Biden or we just don't like our representatives, but no, it has to be that someone is behind the screen and actually changing the vote. This is why I don't like this conversation, because at the end of the day, it almost hand waves the responsibility for the elected officials to, do their job. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if this is how we're going to prepare for 2024 when Biden is who knows, likely, maybe not, I don't know, it's kind of early to be voted out, we're not going to blame Biden, we're going to blame the Republicans. This seems what it's going to be.
Well, Biden's a shithead as well. He's not fucking helping.
Politicians do shit.
That networks of conspiracies, that network of the conspiracies starts at adrenochrome. It doesn't start at the election.
I mean, it starts with like the militias. It starts with like the Ku Klux Klan after the fucking Second World War, or the Vietnam vets coming back into and shit, right? Like you can trace it back as far as you like, but if people just fucking understood America's history of conspiracism, like all this shit is super, super fucking predictable. Okay, not like exactly as and when, but you can see the growth of it. And I wish people would pay more attention.
You can't give Trump that much credit. You got to understand that everything Trump says and does is approved by someone higher than him. You do have to understand that.
I have no idea what this point
is approved.
That would be like the prophet.
So what you're all getting distracted by is you're attaching certain things to Trump and Trump only, when in reality those things
we're literally not though. Nobody is. Didn't we literally just
the majority of the American populace relate certain things they don't like to Trump and Trump alone.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Trump gave a speech before this happened.
That's a problem.
So exactly what I said, that like Americans need to be better educated on conspiracism in the United States and the upswelling of this particular movement, right? And that we need to be more aware of it, more conscious of it. It doesn't run counter to what you just said. Yeah, you can't just blame Trump. Obviously, Trump is a product of this. Not.
I mean, he's succeeded because he walked into a culture that was receptive to the kind of talk that he had on offer.
Yes. So those conspiracies glom onto any new conspiracy theory he throws out or anybody adjacent to him throws out. And then what you have is you have this big coalition formed out of these conspiracy theories that creates the party on the whole in the end. This is how groiperism works, and this is why we call them groipers.
Fucking groipers, man.
I think the problem is that you say conspiracy theorists, and then if somebody has some opinion that you think is false, you instantly group them into this whole group of people who think Bill Gates is microchipping everybody. And it's like, not everybody, if they believe one thing, believes the entire group of conspiracy theories that you believe they believe.
Yeah, nobody.
But what if their opinion just so happens to be that exact thing?
I got
No, I'm saying yes, there are people who believe conspiracy theories, but you're just gonna make people look at you and like, the thing is like the left likes to censor people because they say one fact that is deemed a conspiracy theory. I'm not gonna get into COVID, but like with COVID, people were banned because of, you know, their beliefs, and then a couple months later it comes out that those beliefs did have some validity. And once you start grouping people into conspiracy theorists, they're not even gonna want to engage with you because now you've just painted them as some nutcase.
Okay.
Hey, before I bounce, I gotta ask Viv this question. I gotta ask Viv this question, then I can bounce. Because we've had some decent conversations. In 2024, based on your conversation, our entire conversation, do you believe it is more likely? I'm saying more likely because we have 2024 is far away.
Yeah, it is a far way away.
Yeah. Do you believe, as of right now, that it's more likely that it's going to be, if Joe Biden were to lose, that it was due to Republicans, or do you believe it was due to just Joe Biden's policies? I'm saying Republicans controlling, like your theory of Republicans being nominated and stuff. So that's why I'm trying to ask you, like, do you believe if Joe Biden were to lose,
Republicans versus
there's too many
an institution of power versus
there's too many moving factors between now and then. I mean, Biden still has like 2 years left of his presidency. He could like do all kinds of shit. What I will say is that I expect there to be a lot of fuckery around the polling offices. I expect there to very likely be violence around the election, and I do expect it to be a very contentious event. I can't say like, oh, I think the Republicans are going to undermine the election to the point that it's going to make Biden lose, but I do think that they're going to be fucking with the election, and I do think that that's going to cause unrest and shit, and that's what I'm genuinely worried about. Generally increasing level of unrest around elections and the potential for that to end up overturning a Democratic
So
decision.
I lied, but it's a very simple question. Okay, I lied, but I got one more simple question. It's very simple. Do you think it's going to be more contentious should Donald Trump run in 2024 against Biden and have like a 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, it depends on what Donald Trump does between then and now. I know he's like starting to lose a little bit of support in the extreme fringes for his positions on vaccines, right? But if Donald Trump continues to be the central figure of this movement, or at least an extremely important figure within it, then yeah, obviously, if Donald Trump runs, then it's going to be more contentious. But there are other like large figures within the conspiracist movement that could potentially run that could also cause an equal amount of unrest.
MTG, right? But anyways, no, I'm gonna bounce out. But it was a good conversation, Viv. As you know, I enjoy having these conversations. So I'll catch y'all later. And good conversation. Peace.
Have a good one. Chris, I wanted to say something.
There's this whataboutism when it comes to Democrats and Republicans about claiming that the election was rigged, something happened that was wrong when it comes to Bush or when it came to Trump winning in 2016, right? When it comes to Democrats, most of it amounts to is people complaining and whining about it for a few months, and then they accept it, but then they still complain about their the person in office, right? They don't stoop to these grand conspiracy theories that lead to these mass cults that do all this crazy shit and spout this crazy shit, right? At most, at 2016, you got some people claiming the election was rigged. That I think some of the processes went through court. Turns out it was legitimate. Everything went the way it's supposed to, and that was it. And we just had to live with it, right? And we still complained about Trump, but some mass portions of Democrats claim that the election was stolen. No, it didn't happen. Even with a person like Trump, we still didn't go that far to make those claims, to undermine democracy in that way.
Bill Clinton's dick getting sucked was a conspiracy theory at one point.
Yeah, probably. But like, so the difference is like when Democrats do this shit and they do it, right? What Chris is saying is right. They generally go through like the court systems or whatever. Maybe it's like played in the media or whatever. What they don't do, right, is massively harass poll workers, stage attacks on state and national capitol buildings, right? This is the difference that we're talking about, and this is why the equivocation is just so fucking gross. Like, these things are not equal, right? The efforts to undermine the election are not equal.
And we're also talking like leaders of these movements. We're not talking like backseat figures. We're talking people like Baked Alaska who went in there with fucking COVID. Yeah. Like fuck it, I don't care at all. And like, just, I mean, anything you do past that point to enable the criminality is bad. There's no upside to it. There's no utility to be gained.
And now we're living in the age where like the Republican Party is embracing these elements, right? So it's not just like, oh, Baked Alaska, fucking famous alt-right or, you know, far-right YouTube or whatever you want to call him. It's Gosar embracing America First and the fucking Groypers, right? And the rest of the Republican Party not pushing back against that. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert in the halls of fucking Congress. It's 32 at my last count, and probably more now, QAnon candidates standing for election in the 2022 midterms, right? Like, the Republican Party is being taken over by this shit. And, you know, by 2024, like, if things don't go back the other way, they're going to be the white nationalist extremists and the QAnoners party, right? That they already kind of are headed in that direction. But like,
if this was Tankies getting this much political like control, like Gender Juice was talking about earlier,
yeah, we'd be
terrified.
I
would have serious fucking problems with that as a leftist. I would be mad. I would be just as furious, if not more furious.
Yeah, you have those grey zone motherfuckers doing what QAnon are doing. I'd be raising the alarm bells about that too.
Yeah, the way
imagine President Infrared.
the way ML jumped out online is crazy. Like, ML is like can't survive anywhere peacefully, right? And this due to leftists, right? Largely conservatives don't really pay that much attention to them, right? So usually leftists like going ham on them.
We beat them back with a bat first.
Yeah, and like this idea, like I think it was Roadman who brought up this idea about misinformation, like who's to tell what's misinformation. This is like a huge problem because we keep running into this. Like, no amount of facts. I watched the COVID debate, like it was yesterday or the day before, right? And it's just like, with some people, it doesn't matter how many facts you put in front of them. Doesn't matter how many like peer-reviewed studies, like consensus, like you give them, like it doesn't matter. Like, you give them one line in their conspiracy theories, like they can find as a fact. They just believe the whole thing and they go with that, and they say you're just trying to silence them, right? But it's just like how are you supposed to combat that? How are you supposed to go against that when somebody like people like that just don't give an inch? Like, their like whole ideology is rooted in pure fantasy, almost to a point, right?
You have to denormalize their thought, at least their ideas, being completely out of the spectrum of being beyond the pale.
Why do you want to control them? I don't understand why you have to control everybody.
That's what they're doing.
Because we need democracy to function.
No, but I think
when you have a significant amount of people in your country who are like so fucking detached from reality that like it leads them to want to overturn and overthrow that democracy, your society's entire fucking foundations are at risk.
I understand, but I think you need to debate them like we are doing now, and debate these ideas. And I think bystanders, most people aren't informed. They're not going to sit here and watch Twitch debates. But if the mainstream news and all that would allow these debates to take hold instead of just vilifying people on both sides, you got Fox News saying lefties are crazy. You got MSNBC saying that the right is white supremacists, Nazis. You got these two sides that are now clashing with each other. If we could have these discussions and we could see, okay, if the guy who is into conspiracy theories, if you actually listen to his, I'm not saying I don't like this whole deplatform debate because it's like, let's hear what he has to say. If he sounds crazy, a rational human being should just say, okay, I've heard what he actually has to say. Instead of him being censored, now I can see that he is crazy, and I do believe with you now. But once you silence him, they're going to think, well, what is he saying that needs to be silenced? I don't understand.
These are not rational human beings that we're talking about, though.
This is the problem, right? It's not like we don't have these discussions. We have these debates all the fucking time, right? Even like on these news stations and stuff, they have these debates all the fucking time. I don't know why people act like these discussions don't happen, right? If you're in the political spirit, you watch all the political stuff, you watch these discussions happening all the time. You know how many like fucking defenses I've seen for like anti-vax people for COVID? Like it's insane, right? It's not like they're being silenced. They're like their messages everywhere, which is why so many people fucking like are like sucked into it, like they are QAnon, because there's like we're supposed to just allow these things to just like be valid and like in these discussions of like these being valid ideas. We have so much information to push back on it, even it as fact, right? Even if we have all these institutions, whether it be academic, science, or like governmental, right? None of it matters because they're all like some sort of conspiracy behind them all to control us all. Like control, like why do you bring this idea up of control when it comes to like factual information, right? My teacher telling me that 1 + 1 = 2 isn't it like a matter of them trying to control me. It's like them trying to get me to the best way to get to the answer of 2, right? Because 1 + 1 is 2, right? It's factual information. So like giving someone factual information and making sure that they believe that and make sure they make the right judgments off of that isn't them trying to control you. It's them trying to give you like the best options in life that they can. Like this is so dumb. Like
That's the thing is you're saying
that
okay, 1 + 1 = 2. That's fine. That's a fact. We can agree upon that. But when the facts change and people see that the facts are changing right in front of them, that you've deemed the facts. For example, Fauci saying we shouldn't have to wear masks, and then all of a sudden flip flopping and says, yeah, you should wear masks. Now the person, okay, I don't understand. Like that's see what I'm saying. When that came out, the fact was considered. This is what you should do.
No,
and now the
because
fact has
that's not how
changed.
science
And now the
works.
fact has changed. And so now people are going to say, okay, you're telling me that I'm wrong, but look I've just proved to you that I am not wrong. The proof is in the pudding, and now the facts that you claim are 1 + 1 have just been changed.
Science is falsifiable, not provable.
Hold on,
just because. Yeah, but you're calling them facts. You're not letting the science happen. You're saying science is concrete. It's a fact now. We can't discuss it at all.
Don't bring them down this line of logic. It's dumb, right? If a scientist like lets you know like they don't have all the full information on this virus, right? So for now, what we believe this might not be an issue. You might not have to wear a mask, and then you get more information saying, oh, like this isn't the case. We now found out more information that these masks do work and they like are helpful, so you should wear them, right? It's totally different, right? It's not like we found out things in science and then they're set in stone forever and they're not allowed to change. It's not how science works. So when we get new information, we change how we approach it, right?
So then it's not a fact, right? You can't determine a fact if it's going to change because 1 + 1 never changes. It has been concrete 1 + 1 forever. It will not change. So that's a fact.
No, that's logic. That's not
hold on, don't. He gave a recommendation for what he thought you should do. You're just claiming it as a fact, right? His opinion, his prescription as like some sort of fact of what's like best when it comes to a vaccine. I mean, for a virus that they barely knew any information about at the time, right? It's not the way that works, right? They thought they had the right amount of information to make that call, right? They didn't.
So it's not a fact. It is not a fact anymore because they did not have the right information.
I have a problem because the CDC and Fauci are also influenced by like political pressures, public pressure. So a lot of times they make public statements of like, hey, you shouldn't wear a mask because early in the pandemic, they were worried about not having a mask for frontline workers. So they said, hey, don't wear a mask because we need it for frontline workers. And they didn't tell that to the public, which I totally criticize Fauci and the CDC for doing. But they eventually changed their mind. They didn't change their mind. They knew it in the past, but like they're flawed. But the science has always said you should wear a mask.
What you're referring to as
people in Asia have done that for pandemics in the past.
Let's go to gender and dad.
All right. I just want to quickly like state sort of something about the abstract idea of what is true and not. So the truth, you're gonna need to hold out for me for a little bit. So the truth itself is something that is more Markovian. That is to say that when we discover something about the truth implies more changes about other truths and the truth of it in it of itself. And the truth exists as a parallax. That is to say that one individual cannot have the full vantage point of what the truth is because they only have one angle of how truth looks. Another person has their own knowledge, and when we combine this, we get a greater knowledge of what the truth is.
And when we have what's it called, incorrect information, it skews our view of the truth. The problem here is that when it comes to conspiracy theorists, they don't give a shit if they're looking towards the truth or any information about the truth. It's rather a mechanism to cope with what the truth is through an alternative mean. That is to say, with the vaccine mandates, they don't like the idea of a blah 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 government control. I'm scared of needles or some bullshit, like whatever reason it is. They're gonna try and find any excuse that, although is not generally agreed upon to be what most people or professionals agree as the idea of the truth, they're going to find and seek something to justify that as a it's basically trying to fill a void rather than to understand what the fucking void looks like, you know?
No, but you're saying the truth. But there's no truth here. You're just talking about but listen, you're talking about the truth. No, you're saying they don't want to get. You're saying they don't want to get the vaccine because this, and that. So they're wrong. You're not actually listening to them. You're not Maybe they just have the precedent of I don't want the government deciding what I put into my body. That's a justified point. Okay, but I'm saying
I just said that they're not.
I'm not trying to get into this. I don't want to get into this. But you're the one who brought it up.
They're not trying to find what is true. They're trying to find an explanation that can justify
you've already determined this is true. And now people hold on. And now people who are on Facebook who are coming with the opposite opinion are trying to have an argument, and they're getting censored. They can't do anything. They're getting kicked offline. They're getting fired from their jobs.
The other is a very abstract and complicated process that you need a lot of information, that you need a lot of consensus, and you need a lot of criticization.
Well, you can think in the abstract. I'm gonna live in the real world.
Yeah, but it seems like you're not, so that really doesn't help your case, you know? I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. This is literally
the
how
left trying to control every facet of society, every decision that's being made.
Literally anybody
ridiculous, and that's why
to the left of you becomes the left, you know? My fucking Joy-Con
anything to the right of you is the right. We can do this all night. We can do this all night.
But you're an extreme example.
How am I extreme?
You've already generalized me twice as the left.
You've generalized literally everybody.
Do you guys not agree that
you yourself are justifying behavior that all of us have together agreed is a consensus of being a very radical individual.
You think all of us have a consensus that this is bad? No, your echo chamber, like we were talking about before, has that consensus
that we've all agreed that.
No, that's not general. It's your echo chamber, not general.
But it seems to be an echo chamber you're in too.
I'm on a leftist corner right now talking to you guys. What are you talking about?
Hey, Roadman, did you go to public school?
Yeah, go ahead. Come at me, bro. Here come the ad hominems. No, I want it, dude. Bring it. Come on. I love it.
No, if you went to public school, then you had a government mandated vaccine. Why are you complaining if you have to enact? If you have to, I'm not done talking, man. If you're just gonna walk all over me, I mean, I can talk over you too.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, just relax. Just keep the stream, flow. We're all human here.
Anyway, so it's already happened, and if you're complaining that you can't go to a bar or a restaurant because, and I haven't actually seen this, and I've been to plenty of bars and plenty of restaurants, and I'm about to go on my third or fourth vacation this year, fourth. I'm pretty sure that nobody's asked me for a vaccine card. What's your point?
Go to New York City.
It's been 7 days.
This year.
Huh?
It's been 6 days.
Go to Boston in a couple weeks and try to get into a restaurant.
So you had like a vacation every 2 days?
Hey,
well, I mean, in the fifth, year all around.
Hold on. Dan is next. We can get to you soon. Was it Dominic?
Sorry guys, I'm new to this. I'm not talking. I'm just keeping my mouth shut now.
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, I'm not gonna go on ad hom or anything. I just want to go to my general point about what I mean by denormalizing the kind of language or ideas that would normally be general places. And I get to understanding for you, Roadman, that a lot of these ideas should be generally used as these have to be free. It's freedom. It has to be done in the free marketplace. The best idea wins. However, I think to any conservative or any perspective understands when they deal with dangerous ideas, such as things that are considered communism and whatnot, which they thought back in those times, the best way that they have dealt with it is literally making it as unnormal as possible to where no one really will ever give a thought of talking about it in like any other situations that would cane their work, like universities. I mean, usually universities, but in other places, because then because to them it would end up becoming like the no-go. It's a societal suppression of these facts. One thing I want to make sure to do is that if you view these to be equal or at least somewhat valid to your criticisms of those from the left, I don't really think that this is considered one of your criticisms, as it doesn't really make that much sense due to the previous historical precedent that has set forth through much of conservatives that has done to leftists in the past. And I would agree that certain cases, yeah, sure, they want to like keep you from silencing you and whatnot. However, I mean, they could give you a longer list of the left, or at least those who are considered to be somewhat socialistic, of doing it this much longer in the United States, even before like Russia became like a thing, like Soviet Union.
I'm just gonna throw in there that like the misinformation goes hand in hand with how factual the information is. If we're going to entertain something in the marketplace of ideas and it's just not factual, either A, we don't entertain it at all, which is what we don't do with things like postmodern fascism, like Nazi level fascism. We don't actually entertain that. Those people don't run around on a regular basis preaching that shit in public. Not anymore. And the way we beat that down is by shitting on their misinformation. And that's what this looks like. It may not be pretty, it may not be fun, it may not make you feel good about yourself in your internet research, but it is what it is.
And denormalize it because it should be beyond the pale.
We didn't beat them. We didn't beat them
that.
down. We didn't beat them down by shitting on their misinformation. We beat them down by kicking the living shit out of them in a fucking world war and then demonizing these people and ostracizing them from society, making it so that their ideology was morally unacceptable, not because people disagreed with it through like rational fucking reasons or whatever, but because people saw what it leads to, right? And they attached their national identity even to opposition to this ideology. Right.
Agreed. Hence why I said postmodern. What I meant was the time after the 50s, where we were idealizing both communism and fascism and creating these polar opposites that we were able to demonize because they were both full of just propagandistic bullshit. And we were pointing to that bullshit to do that.
Place of ideas.
Let's go to was it a new person? Was it Cooper? Hello, hi, Dominic Cooper. Hello.
Hi guys. I'm new to this. I'm a little bit shy.
Sure.
Welcome aboard.
What is this you guys talking about the most today?
January 6th.
Jan 6.
Yeah,
Jan 6.
Yeah.
Oh, that January 6th was a false operation, man. It was used by the Democrats to pretty much make Trump look bad. You know.
I'm about to smoke you out.
I wish Democrats were that electorally successful and intelligent. They aren't.
I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know if this man is joking or not. I actually would like to know if he's sincere.
Question for him. Do you think that the shaman? Do you think that the shaman was a Antifa plant?
Did you hear the interview?
The main shaman guy. Do you believe that the main guy in the pictures? Do you believe that he wasn't like some sort of Antifa or government plant?
That's a really good question, because I remember hearing things that yes, he was a part of Q, which you can argue is true. But I've also heard things that Q is actually connected to the CIA, and the CIA used Q as a thing to make the right wingers look bad and stuff like that. And
Jesus.
Yeah, I do think that Antifa does have a bit of a connection to it, because there were flyers actually that came out the days before the protest happened that was saying Antifa was pretty much going to plan to, raid the Capitol.
Yeah, those flyers were passed around.
Rope Man, does this match up with your info?
Dude, I don't know, bro. I'm just like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of like being grouped in with this shit. Like, I don't believe half this shit, and this is what I'm talking about.
Good.
It's like, I don't believe half these things, but the second I make some type of claim, you're grouping me in with this type of shit, dude. I don't.
You're the
Because-
closest
because-
to ideologies.
Because in some way you're making a tacit endorsement of it, in an offhand pattern by not denouncing it. In many ways, yeah, you're going, yeah, all right, they can think that. Okay, cool, they can think that. But is it okay?
Let's
denounce it. That's what I'm saying.
I have to denounce everything I don't agree with.
Let's
No,
let's
that's not what I'm saying.
whoa. Let's actually focus on the person who said it, right? And if this person is being sincere, then let's like focus on him. Like you guys are here. So
I was trying to do that. So they like those.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. I'm being I'm being respectful. I'm just keep relaxing the conversation because I do agree with you guys. Nowadays, like the media just labels all left wingers as bad people, all right wingers as bad people, and something. Every side has good people. It's just unfortunately today's society is just brainwashed, and you just get extremists from both sides. If you have a side that goes too far left, they lose their common sense, and if you have a side that goes too far right, they just lose their common sense. So
I mean, you literally just said Antifa and the CIA planned the Capitol riot as a way to, with the Democrats as a way to make the Republicans look bad. You don't think maybe you've fallen into one of those extreme camps?
I'm not an extremist. I'm not an extremist, Matt. I do think the right winger has extreme problems too. It's a thing both parties have that, which is very, very bad.
Do you think the views that you just expressed would be an example of some of those extreme problems?
Oh, I agree. I think the left definitely have their problems. I do think there definitely is a lot of far left groups that are extremists.
Yeah, there's a lot of insane far left groups. But do you think that the view, right, that you just expressed, that Antifa and the CIA secretly planned J6 along with the Democratic Party in order to make Republicans look bad, do you think that that might be an example of some pretty extremist rhetoric that that might put you in the camp of those extremists on the right?
No, I'm not an extremist on the right, mate. I don't label myself as conservative or liberal. All I know is that Donald Trump was different. He was doing a great job as president. All I know is that there were people on the right and the left who are against him. It's because a lot of people on the left and the right are controlled by the bankers. They're controlled by the corporations and stuff like
bankers.
that. Have you guys heard of the Federal Reserve in America?
Oh, yeah. Who hasn't?
And this is what I mean by tacit endorsement. You're endorsing related rhetoric that is very much along the same lines of the same people and same groups and the same identities that espouse this same nonsense.
Hold on. You don't think the Fed is fucking us? You don't think the Fed is fucking us?
Oh yeah, they are.
Sounds British. She's MI6. What the fuck?
Check out the alliance.
Is the Fed fucking us?
What alternative are you going to propose?
Check out the alliance between.
What alternative are you going to propose? And when I say that, I'm saying you're using that as a rhetorical tool, and those rhetorical tools are just that. You're using the same rhetorical tools that Kuipers use to bring people from the middle to the middle to the right.
Yes or no?
I don't care. It's outside the point of what I'm saying.
You missed such an easy fucking. Kazim, you missed such an easy fucking point. Okay,
go ahead.
Look how we can see the alliance between the extremists and the supposedly moderate Republicans starting in real time, right?
So because me and him have some beliefs, we agree everything together. This is what I'm talking about. Is you've just lumped me in with everything he says because I said
you're lumping yourself in there.
I believe everything else that you say.
You refused to denounce him, and then you started supporting his narrative.
Other views.
You don't
even know. Right have come together to all this shit he's saying. Yeah, I'll denounce, but I hate that I have to sit here and stand on my soapbox and I denounce the things he says. Let's talk about the things I agree with because you could do this all day.
You don't even know what his views about the Fed are.
A lot.
You literally don't even know what his views about the Fed are. He just mentioned the Fed, and you went off on one. Right.
This is literally my first time in one of these. Just throwing that out there.
Just to let you know, guys, I have nothing against you guys. Whatever you believe in, we all live in we all live in a free society. You can believe whatever you want to believe. So I'm not here to be disrespectful or anything.
Dummy,
are you like Australian or American?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Okay, I was trying to place the accent. It's just kind of fucking weird that somebody from New Zealand
Jacinta, mate, she is absolutely useless. Jacinta, we had a prime minister called John Key, and we had a prime minister before that called Helen Clark, and they were all a part of the globalists elite, mate. New Zealand for a long time has just been going downhill.
No, I'm fully aware of the mad fucking bizarre anti-Semitic shit around your leaders in New Zealand. I'm just it's the 1776 will commence again thing that's kind of getting me, right?
Yeah, that's
I think one of the weird I think one of the weird things that I've noticed about this particular like conspiracist movement is like how many people around the world have suddenly become massive fucking American patriots through the Q movement. It's wild.
Do you know?
If you're that patriotic and you're willing to go to revolution, and 1776 will happen again. I'm assuming that's what that means, right? I've never seen it before.
Do you know why?
What's it mean?
Do you know why I put that picture up? It's not to be extremist or anything. I love the meaning of it. I love the meaning of it because it basically means like freedom. It's like basically in Braveheart, you know, like.
Does it mean anything else? I'm asking you what the meaning. No, I unironically do not know what it means. I've never seen it before. What does it mean?
So basically, it means to what America was fighting for in 1776. You know, freedom, independence, liberty. That's the thing. You know, but it's nothing to be
through what mean?
You know,
through what mean?
It's a meme commonly used among like Boogaloo Boys and militias and all that sort of stuff to apply to appeal to the Civil War.
So it means what I'm inferring by revolution.
It can mean like it means different things to different people. Obviously, people who come in on like the bottom rung and are like, I don't endorse all this, all of that violence or whatever. I just see this as like a thing of freedom. They're the same kind of people that will talk about globalists and bankers and not realize that they're playing into the same anti-Semitic tropes. The same people who will like say all the wild fucking shit that this dude has said and not connect the dots, right?
So what you're telling me is you're an anarchist.
Okay. So I'm an anarchist.
And you want revolution. Yeah. That's what you're telling me.
Okay,
when January 6th happened and you failed at your revolution, why am I supposed to cry about that?
Cooper.
Dude, I didn't, say, going to the riots, basically like what they did in the Capitol Hill was good. I'm not saying I support that, dude. I'm a guy who follows the teachings of Jesus Christ. We should love one another, we should treat each other with respect. And, like he said, we all fall short in the glory of God. Sorry, guys. Okay. I'm just really, really shy, man.
No, it's totally cool. Right. Seriously, let's try and focus. Let's try and focus on
that. I want to hear from Chris because he's been waiting. Go ahead, Vivian.
Let's try and focus on like one point at a time, okay? Because like one other thing I get when I speak to a lot of like Q people, I'm not saying you're necessarily a Q person.
Oh, right? Q's stupid. Q's stupid.
Q's dumb. I completely understand.
As a Trump supporter, they were saying the most ridiculous things. They were saying like Trump was going to come out of, during the inauguration night and he was going to expose all of like the problems and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, give me a break. And it's you had...
Please give me the just a second, right? Because you see what's happening. Like, it's every time I mention a thing that gets you excited, you go off on a random tangent, right? So I think it's really, really important that we like try and focus in on like maybe one thing.
Dude, I'm autistic, by the way.
I know, and sometimes it can be difficult, right? But I think you can get around to like what is like one claim that you've made so far. I mean, you've made like tons of them, right? So how do you expect us to talk about all of them? And if you're interested in knowing what the truth is, you'll want to know like what the different views are to your
I'm not here to change anyone's mind. I'm just here to have debate with people, Not here to change
so we have to be able to debate like one individual point, right? So what, like the Antifa flyers around J6, do you think that those flyers saying that Antifa were going to interrupt J6, do you think those flyers...
it's not just Antifa, it's the CIA, it's the globalists, it's the George Soros funded, like I said, they're doing whatever they can to make Trump look bad.
Okay, how do you know... Okay, like I said, look, see, 1 million points come out of one, right? Like, how do you know that, like, for example, George Soros is involved in J6? What's
because there was also one point where the Hungarian Prime Minister called George Soros a terrorist, and there was also links on Facebook towards it too. You know, there's when you look at the amount of money funding that goes into Antifa, and like especially like the climate change protesting, Extinction Rebellion, it's just obvious, mate. You know, George Soros, you know, he's been caught in a lot of scandals before, so I wouldn't be surprised.
You know that Antifa doesn't have a bank account.
So what you said there, by the way, right, was I'm saying so this is basically your argument, right? George Soros was involved in January 6th because I have heard various things from the Hungarian Prime Minister, which I don't know, maybe you should look into him a little bit more, right? Because I don't think you'd want to be associated with him.
He's a terrible guy, the George Soros guy. The Hungarian Prime Minister's fine. I think he's a good leader. You know?
Okay, well, I mean, whatever. I think he's a batshit insane fascist, but like...
How's he a fascist? What has he done that's a fascist?
I mean, he's an authoritarian.
A lot of things that fascists do.
he's
what
an
He said,
authoritarian.
though, that's fascist. What has he done?
Sorry, hold on. Let's focus on one thing at a time.
We can't, right?
Yeah, can we not go on a tangent every single comment?
Yeah. We'll never get through this.
Soros.
So, Cooper, I promise you, I can promise you that you will get a chance to respond to Vivian, right? So, Vivian, do your spiel, and then Cooper, you will be able to respond to what she's saying, okay? Vivian.
Okay. So yeah. So the question was, right? How do you know George Soros was involved in January 6th? And I'm going to have to be very careful not to use any like inflammatory language here. I'm sorry, I'm not. Usually when I talk to people who have your kind of views, I'm just sitting there and listening and trying to understand where they're coming from, right? Rather than trying to like actually explore them with them and challenge them. But like, so the claim was George Soros involved in J6. Your response is, I've heard that he's involved in all these other things, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was involved in J6. Now, I think you and I, as like reasonable thinking individuals, right, would both agree that just because you've heard that George Soros is involved in all these other things, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's involved in this specific thing, right? So what evidence do you have that he's involved in this one specific thing?
Right.
Do you want me to answer now?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay, so all I know is during Trump's presidency, the whole time when you had the Russian hoax, when you had what else was against him? The tax thing and stuff like that. Throughout the whole time, the globalists pretty much used the campaign against Trump to look bad. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if George Soros and the elitists planned January 6th to make Trump look bad, especially when he was doing such a a good job, you know, at being president.
What plan did they need past him losing the election?
Wait, no. But I'm just trying to focus in on. I wouldn't be surprised. Isn't the same as I have evidence and therefore know this to be true, right? You understand there's a difference between these two things. One of them is you speculating, right?
I'm not saying I'm 100% right. You know, I'm just giving my opinion. You know, that's it. I'm not saying I'm Mr. Right because.
Right.
That would
so if we move on to the next thing, right? What evidence do you have, right? That George Soros is funding Antifa. What evidence do you have there?
From FBI, you know, sources, CIA, there were people who came out, leakers. I can't remember, but that's all, you know, I just remember, you know, facts of people saying that, you know, especially when you look at, like, you know,
it's all very well to laugh, right? But I think it's like, if indeed this dude's being serious, right? And I actually think he is.
I'd love to see the evidence.
I've spoken to a whole bunch of people who say exactly the same stuff, right?
I'd love to see any corroborating evidence.
Yeah,
I'd love to see evidence.
Go ahead.
The thing is, they will continuously trot out these people who are like presented as like leakers, as like intelligence agents or whatever. There's that mad dude from the U.S. Air Force or whatever, right? I'm sure this guy will know who I'm talking about.
What's his name again?
I can't remember. It's the Air Force general, right?
John McClane.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So they'll trot out these dudes who say things like say things like you know, have secret information about aliens and the deep state plot.
Oh, the aliens are real.
overthrow.
Aliens definitely exist. Of course, you know, Area 51 is
Statistically, yes.
Yeah,
But there's a way to.
And once you sort of like believe one, you believe another and another and another, and it's like I'm not 100% sure how to like pull somebody out of this particular media ecosystem and get them looking critically at the sources that they're imbibing. So like John McClane, like what even makes you trust him, right? Like, sorry,
I didn't trust Obama because Obama was pretty much the guy who dropped the most bombs out of any country.
Yeah, I don't trust Obama either.
You know? And he
He's
was a war
displaying
criminal, you know, especially what he did with spying, you know, on United States citizens with the what's called the RS, you know, basically selling, you know, America out to China and stuff like that. Pretty much, yeah, he did a lot of wrong things, you know.
Yeah, Obama sucked in a whole load of ways. I'm not sure I'd agree with all the things that you just said about him, but like, you know, the Flint, Michigan thing fucking sucked for sure. And
also,
drone
know,
attacks,
causing,
bombs, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Causing an immigrant crisis, basically stuffing up a lot of these Middle Eastern countries.
But you see how,
and funding terrorists. He also was funding terrorists. You know, there was also leaked documents of that. You know, I also got a question.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
I got a question for you. How did Afghanistan get when Biden got all the military out of Afghanistan and it was a mess? How did they get all the weapons?
Oh Jesus!
Oh, because the
the
Taliban got all the weapons because the withdrawal was completely fucking disorganized and it shouldn't have been done that way.
And
Biden was an idiot for pulling out of Afghanistan.
On purpose,
They didn't get as much as they said either. They didn't get near as much as they said either.
Why would you?
It was defunct. It was broken.
Why would you ship out very heavy assault rifles and arms that you know you're never going to use again, knowing that shipping cost is astronomical? Right. Getting it there was hard enough. Why would you bring it back? That's something we do a lot. Believe it or not.
It also happened in Vietnam.
They broke most of the equipment before they got it. I mean,
and in the First World War,
yeah, they got equipment, but it was broken equipment that.
We legitimately do that all the time.
Yeah, like in 1918, at the end of the First World War, it took them years to get rid of all the weapons to make sure that the weapon will not stay in place. So.
Yeah,
but logical things when you're losing. Same in Vietnam.
We're running off on like a million different tangents, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason you wouldn't be surprised if George Soros was involved in J6 is because you believe that he was involved in all these other things, right? And when I ask you about,
he's a globalist, mate. The globalists don't like Trump, you know, because
how do you know that? Okay, so who's a globalist?
What's a globalist?
Because if they did it, we wouldn't be where we are.
Yeah, no, it's a reasonable question. What is a globalist?
Okay, so a globalist is someone who's a part of the elite, the Federal Reserve, and basically a part of the New World Order, and wants to pretty much destroy the West, you know, and turn it into a social state and bring in.
Well, they don't believe in isolated countries. They believe in the culmination of all these countries.
Yeah, there you go. They
somehow represent.
Dude, is that fucking Red Pill 78?
We're international trade is technically considered a globalist thing.
I wondered where these guys had come from, and I see fucking Brand for Liberty on my screen. Holy
sounds like North Korean
I'm
rhetoric.
here and I'm ready to battle.
Let's go to Chris. He's been waiting patiently.
Oh God.
I'm sorry, I don't want to respond to anything the Dominic Cooper guy said. Actually, Roadman brought up something that I think was interesting about like him being lumped in with the Cooper guy, right? And when he initially made all the claims he made, right? In my head, like my first thought wasn't, oh, Roadman is like just like this guy. He's in the same group. That's not what was in my head because I clocked Cooper as a troll immediately. Roadman, I think, is earnest.
I don't think he is a troll.
How am I a troll, mate? I've just been listening. I'm just shy, mate. That's all.
That's just my.
No. Troll is the easy label. No. Troll is the easy label that they give to people that they disagree with. It's just like, oh, he's a troll. We'll disagree and show why you disagree.
Okay, Chris, Chris, finish your point, and then I do want to hear from you, Brant, and then Zagender and Zen, sure.
What I'm trying to get to is like, you say like, why should you have to denounce denounce this guy when when you're in the conversation, or like this guy seems to be on your side? It's just like the natural thing, right? If I had someone on my side who's arguing with me, who also like just started saying like, Chairman Mao was right? I'd have to say, hold on, chill, dude, like chill
Bill
out.
isn't here.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would be like, chill out. Like, I don't agree with this guy at all who's saying this, right? I'd point that out because I don't want to be lumped in with that person. And it's just like, it's just a thing to do. Now, it just gets weird when you say you're not on the same side as this person, but you defend arguments, or say like QAnoners or like J6 insurrectionists. Say you don't like fully like agree with some of these people, you denounce some of them, but you defend their arguments and defend them before you do the denouncing. That's the issue. That's where like people get confused and start lumping you in with these sort of people, right? Whereas like you don't start with the denouncing, you don't start with that, and like get yourself separated from that, and then try to pull out some of the more logical arguments from that. That's where that comes from. And I think if more Republicans or more conservatives like realize that, start pushing back on these people more often, start like really trying to separate these people from their group, right? Instead of embracing them so much, defending them so much, you wouldn't have this issue.
Okay, but the thing is, if I have to sit here and denounce every single thing that I don't agree with somebody, now this whole conversation has just been derailed. I'd rather focus on the things that I want to talk about. And instead, if somebody wants to make a point, just because I don't believe them and we have the same political leanings, doesn't mean that I have to step up and talk for 10 minutes about each point that I disagree with. Same with the left. If somebody on here was crazy and had some crazy point, I'm not going to look at you, Chris, and say, can you denounce everything they just said, or else I'm going to think that you agree with everything? Because I understand
I've already done it.
Yeah,
but I'm not. You don't even have to do it because most normal people or logical people are going to say, okay, this guy said this. That doesn't mean that I think this other person who's about to talk is going to think this as well. If we just sit here and have to denounce, the conversation just goes nowhere. There's no progression to it. It's all just shit flinging.
That's not true. Because we do this all the time. When it comes to these debates, like we push back on people even when they're on our side. When they bring up a point, we don't think we try to correct that person. Like even it doesn't have to be some 10-minute conversation. It can just be a one line or one sentence.
But the error of correction is purely subjective. The error of correction is purely subjective. You're only instituting your only overall validated beliefs and concerns. Now, I believe I was next in talking. I would just like to make a very quick point, and I'll let everybody get back to talking here. But if you truly believe in a marketplace of ideas where everybody can come together and say, look, I believe in this, or this is what I believe in. What Ropeman is saying is he's purely making a point. You are stating that certain ideas don't have a place at the table, is what you're stating. See, Ropeman is saying, look, I'm allowed to, even in the court of public opinion, to be considered a fool because stupidity is still allowed in the marketplace of ideas. Regardless of whether he's right or wrong, purely speculatively speaking, is in the eyes of the people, the jury, that are validating his opinion. Your opinion, in retrospect, is purely subjective. And when you admit and give up your cards that you choose to withhold his opinion, you admit that you do not allow the marketplace of ideas. Ropeman
couldn't speak.
Until we involve facts. That's all. Okay.
And no, and I wanted let me make sure that I clarify that this is all subjective. We are not speaking in the affirmative. This is my opinion versus your opinion versus another opinion. When you start excluding opinions or allowing people not the opportunity to be able to speak and share their opinions or denounce their opinions and say, look, because I have my own subjective shit. At the end of this, all people will do their own research and they'll make their own conclusions.
No, facts matter.
So it's
facts don't care about your own research.
He was talking to me.
Just saying.
This is about
regardless of how you feel about it, that's how it is.
No one said Roman couldn't speak or he had to leave the podcast or anything. This is stupid. We've been discussing this whole night.
But you're stamping your subjective that his opinion should not be allowed in this. Go on ahead.
No one said
that's their opinion. Are you invalidating their opinion on Roman?
Your opinions.
No, I'm completely in acceptance of all opinions.
I think you were misunderstanding. I think you were completely misunderstanding what I was talking about when I brought up his point. Like he was talking about being lumped in with someone like Dominic Cooper, who comes in and just throws out these conspiracy theories. Like,
But
just
even
off
him,
the
he's allowed to be an idiot if he
no
wants to
one
be.
said he did. No one
And
said
we've
he
been allowing
no
him
one,
to.
Hold on, stop.
Yeah.
Stop address. I'm trying to get this point out.
Going, my bad.
No one said he's not allowed to. Right? He was complaining about being lumped in with this person, and I was explaining to him how to separate himself from that person, right? To not get lumped in. That's all the point I was making, right? No one said he couldn't speak. No one said his ideas weren't allowed. No one said his opinions weren't allowed. So you to go into this point was just nonsense, right? You just weren't listening.
No. You're stamping your subjective as something that reigns supreme over his, and where his would need to be thrown out subjectively, and that's where I decided to step in.
You're still saying
No, you're
said
trying
that.
you're trying to pivot in a circle around to now protect yourself defensively speaking, and
Oh,
that's
for
okay.
fuck's
What
sake.
are you talking about?
Okay,
You're just
all
making
right.
nonsense points.
So
Let's just get back to the
yeah, I was just about to say let's move on from this particular point as to but was that the only thing you wanted to say, Brant, was to argue with Chris about that? Or did you have a larger point?
No, most definitely. I thought he was arguing to a point where like someone should be, in my subjective take, speaking from his perspective, that his opinion shouldn't be allowed, and I was just allowing that people are allowed to be wrong. I may disagree with these people. I'm just
That's
saying
an
that you're
opinion.
allowed.
The opinion that we're saying is wrong.
And we can disagree with it.
Yeah, I mean,
we
no,
do
no, no,
disagree with
totally,
that. I think market
totally,
should be
totally.
regulated.
But when you stamp your, but when
Defend
you
the
stamp
marketplace of
your,
ID.
no, when you use your time to top and you stamp your subjective as something that should be accepted over someone else's, or that there should be denounced, it should be later clarified
So
that
that's not
everybody
what
is
you're saying.
allowed to be
That's
wrong.
not what you're saying. You're saying
Well,
that.
then what am I saying?
You're saying basically that facts doesn't matter and only opinions matter in the marketplace of ID, which is BS.
Yeah.
I mean, our media does it all the time, so
It's because your media
you want to
is
do the same
bullshit.
thing?
We're not media.
Let's go.
Thank you
So
for proving
this poor
points.
1776 guy, right? If indeed he is sincere in what he's been saying, right? Is a victim of people like Brant who get up on their fucking streams and spout this bullshit constantly. Him saying, I may or may not agree with these people. Everybody has a right to like have their own opinion. Facts don't really matter all that much. We can just, it's opinions in the marketplace of ideas. Your subjective opinion versus my subjective opinion. The stuff that you tell your audience, Brant, is the stuff that he's fucking spouting here right now, right? And it may not be worded as well as you. But
I mean, there are
there's not
certain
much of a
times
difference,
in
is
which
there?
I choose to platform certain ideas that can be taken subjectively, and people can interpret them how they want. Yes, I choose not to put on rails my content, for sure.
That's the
Thank you for
enemy of
validating
facts.
that.
That's the enemy of facts.
Let's go.
What
to,
is showing
let's-
what is? Showing what is the enemy of facts, or what? The person who dissents from the media.
Zen,
Which one?
Zen, you haven't had a chance to talk yet, so we'll go to Zen and then Gender Juice.
Cool. I think the opinion shit is the absolute opposite of facts. Facts are facts. They're indisputable. That is what it is.
But who decides them?
Indeed.
No. What I'm asking is a more fundamental question.
I have
Who is the
alternative.
arbiter of these things in which you discern as a specific fact? Who
Do
is
you
the
have
person
a
who does
hand?
this?
Do you have a hand?
I have a hand right here. Yes.
Indeed.
Yes,
that's a fact,
I have a
isn't
second
it?
hand. I have a second hand. I actually
No,
have
no.
full hand. I'm kidding.
I just so
I'm
how
talking
about
about things.
can
I'm
you
talking
say,
about
"I don't have a
anecdotes.
hand"?
I'm talking about anecdotes that can be rewritten, misconstrued politically.
Okay. You're spinning on the political. So I'd love to spin it right back to, because this is the
Okay, go on ahead.
anniversary
Go
of-
ahead.
This is the anniversary of the insurrection.
True.
And Ashley Babbitt came straight at armed people like a fool.
Was she
And-
armed?
Dude,
She
I
came
don't
straight at
care.
armed people because of the things.
No.
that you
We
say.
make this.
Doesn't matter.
No. It's
I
a
don't
realistic.
care.
No. It's okay. You don't care because you don't care. So therefore, we shouldn't put it
You are
in.
attacking. You are attacking the seat of government. You are getting near our congressmen, our senators, our vice president. You
What
are
about
moving
people that
towards-
violate lawful commands
Stop.
by
You are-
law
yeah,
But
enforcement?
also you had people
You mean like the Secret Service?
No,
You mean like the
exactly,
Secret Service?
No.
Secret Service will mow you
Look,
down. These
You'd
are
be
different
surprised.
levels
You'd be
of things.
surprised how much we agree if you would just be quiet long enough to understand the fact that if we're going to put one shoe on one foot.
Now, I think
I'm asking.
anyone.
No, we
if
got to
you
pivot,
go-
right?
yeah,
No
if you-
accountability.
No.
Got it.
Sorry.
Anyone,
Got it.
BLM, anyone goes at a cop with a fucking blunt weapon up close. Sorry.
What blunt
you might
weapon?
get
What
shot.
what blunt weapon did she have?
True, I
Explain
agree.
it.
I agree. You shouldn't
What
do that
blunt
to a
weapon
police
did she
officer.
have?
It's just
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. And look, 1776
attack
agrees.
peace
Thank you.
officers.
Finally.
You can't attack peace
Ash-
officers. You just
Ash-
can't do
No,
it.
you're so right. You're so right. You shouldn't attack or resist to the point of it being
Neither should
violent to
attack
where
either
people's
side, you know?
life can
It's
be.
like the whole Epstein thing.
No, Zizi,
I don't
thank you.
care who
I'm
it
glad.
was.
I'm
Catch
glad that we're
Clinton.
getting a
Catch
panic.
any of them.
This
all
is
the
so.
criminals.
This is so dumb. Like Ashley Babbitt died, right? She died because of people like Brent, right? People who get up and contribute
Because
to the
of
media
me, Jack.
media ecosystem, right? And perpetuate these fucking narratives about the insane narratives about the New World Order and the
Hey,
globalists who want to
can I just say
install
something?
fucking.
Can I just say something about
No,
what
you
have to
can't.
say?
Almost.
I
almost.
relate my time to
And
1776.
people who
Vivaldi.
and people who are like
Vivian.
people like Brent who push those narratives about the fucking New World Order and how they're trying to institute an authoritarian communist takeover of their country.
Because I've said any
right?
of those things.
And-
You're a lowlife. You just come in and you say those things because the
Don't call
left
names.
hates that narrative. No.
Hey,
I'm
I
do
calling
it
it.
nice.
No. He
hate
just
that
said
narrative.
no.
It gets people killed.
I will not come on here and be character assassinated without the ability to at least rebut. I'll allow him to say that stupid, ignorant shit.
that's-
No, I'm going to call his opinion stupid and ignorant because I'm objectively about
That's
the
your
facts. I
opinion.
cover left wing stuff and I cover right wing stuff. And you know what? In every instance in which I know that it's bad and others can see that it's bad and we will relate on a lot of these opinions, for you to be that general and blanket shows how ignorant that you are on the thing. The reason is because you have systematic bias. You have systematic bias on Twitch, and that's okay, Vivian, because it shows how ignorant that your answers are as a whole. And that's okay because you're a part of a very scummy part of Twitch. It's okay.
Stop.
It's okay. No. He got to strike first low. I'm gonna
who's he?
retaliate.
Who's he?
low.
Whoa,
I'm.
whoa.
Go ahead, keep. I mean, strike as low as you want, but like actually fucking address the points. Like we, like.
No. You're
a
sitting
lot
here
of people
talking
a lot of
shit.
people
No,
around
you're
here don't-
completely.
Here's the
No.
strike, and here's
You
the
are
point. Notice how it misses?
completely. No. You're completely ignorant on the
Vivian
fact
is
that
a
I
shit
actually.
troll.
Okay,
A lot
well
of
then you know
people
what?
here
I can
don't know
correct
what you do
myself.
on your
I can
show.
correct.
Yeah.
I can correct myself. Okay.
So will
but
you say-
regardless? But
will you-
regardless, on the point, to the point. Your point is completely off base. That I
Okay.
actually agree with you on a lot of things, but the fact that you would throw me blanket in because you have some type of systematic
tell
loyalty,
your-
like I said.
Will you
Like I
tell
said-
your audience that the New World Order is not real, right?
Oh,
and the
it's
commies
very
aren't
much
coming
real.
to take.
It's
exactly.
very much real. It's
exactly.
very much real. The fact that
Exactly.
you to any the
Exactly.
fact that you
Exactly.
to any degree
Exactly.
you can have
Exactly.
you can have
The
whatever
globalists,
point that you
George
have.
Soros,
Brent,
and all those other
Brent,
I'm not the only person. Like I said,
Brent, go ahead, please.
Name a
like I
globalist.
said, for my own.
you came
personal-
here with
Hold on,
three
shut
different
up, shut
people.
up. Oh my god, too many talking. And I gotta move this along. So Brent, please go ahead.
All right.
No. All I wanted to say is personally, I apologize for what happened earlier, but up to the point that I think you're completely off base. Just throw me in the. If I'm 1 foot to the left of my base, I'm considered a commie. If I'm 1 foot
I know,
right
because
to
your
what it is
base
that your
is
base.
insane, dude. Your
No.
base is listening to the things
No,
that you
my
say.
base. No, my base is a culmination of very many things. You blanketing it is what is off base. That is what got me infuriated. And like I said, I sincerely apologize. But outside of that, on to the point, the original thing that we were talking about, to throw me just into a folder the same way is just. It's completely off base.
You are part of and contribute to a media ecosystem that perpetuates the narratives
and
that
you know
got
what?
Ashley
And
Babbitt
people
killed,
can interpret
right?
it that you are the same thing. People can interpret that you are the same
people
thing.
can interpret anything any which way.
I
Opinions
deal with
aren't-
covering the news. I cover the
opinions
news, whether
are
it's
all that
either
matter.
side.
Facts
I
don't
cover the
matter.
news. I cover the news. That is the fact. I cover visually what happens. I try very hard
I'm glad
outside of the
you
basis of the
can
panel.
decode the news
Not
for your viewers in that way.
I
You can
understand
tell
that
them
right now.
and link
I
the
understand that
threads
right now is a
between-
very. I understand right now is a very easy offensive opportunity. I understand that, and you know what? Take your hits, because you know what? As a libertarian / conservative, I do have a tremendous amount of accountability.
How'd you cover
So,
Gen 6?
So
Okay,
let's
I
go
just
to-
asked.
no,
so
okay,
instead-
okay.
Okay,
I was inquired.
Brant, I do want to let the other people who
Prime,
want to
am
talk.
I going to get a chance to talk?
Oh,
Okay,
you've been talking. What are you talking?
I know.
I
You just asked
interrupted.
me.
I
Did you
interrupted.
not just?
I
Did you not ask me another question?
No, I didn't
Okay.
ask you another question.
So let me get.
I didn't ask you
somebody
another question.
I know that you did, but other people asked, and then now they're upset.
Yeah,
because they asked
but hold on,
questions.
but yeah, that's fine. But like, I still need to move this along. So go ahead, Gender. He's been waiting quite a long time, and then we'll go to Go Past Tech.
Sure.
Alrighty. One, I just want to say a quick thank you to our raiders a little bit earlier. Who was it? Somebody raided. Shit, I should have written this down.
It was this guy.
Yeah, it was called Brant, but somebody raided after. Give me a second. It's right
Oh,
here.
Zonia.
Earlier, I had liked what y'all had going on for a conversation. Is
Zonia.
why I had raided, and I had planned on coming in here and being part of it. I saw that things got spicy. Apologize for if people feel like I came in with punches. I'm a person. Whenever I come in here, I leave it all on my sleeve, and I talk about what I believe in. I don't want you to take it personally.
Yeah, you're really passionate.
No, I really do. I give a shit about what it is that I'm talking about. I give a shit
you
about
speak
what
from
it
the
is.
heart, and I can respect that. But quickly, speaking of respect, we should respect the panel. So if you have a moment of your time and a little bit of chump change to spare, that would be very helpful going towards PrimeCayes' entire deal. You know, his channel, his computer, his panel. They need something to run. And sadly, they don't run on hope, love, and dreams. But what they do run on is money. And you can give him money by going to his, exclamation point Nord. We rarely ever use that. You can go to his Nord, use a code. You could also go and mute one of us for 10 minutes for, 1,000 bits. For like an hour, basically, for 5,000, and just kick us off for the rest of the day for 10,000, right? If you want the sexy ass emotes, now spelled correctly,
It's well spelled correctly. Let's stop doing that. That really
always
annoys me.
has been bing chillin'. But if you ever want those lovely emotes or want other people to have these lovely emotes, please sub to Prime.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say. I had to go.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so how do you feel
hold
about...
on. But I did want to say previously was that we are nearing the end of the show. If you guys think this conversation is interesting though, support the channel, right? If we get let's start off the hype train, right? If we get some support, we get some substantial support, then I have no problem continue this stream. So I'll put another 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes, and we get some substantial support, gifting bits or gifting subs, right? Like if you are appreciating this content, then support this channel, and we can continue on because I'm actually interested in hearing this. But I need your help to make that happen. So sub to the channel, gift bits, give subs. Let's see if we can start ourselves a hype train and get farther down that road. So thanks so much. All right, so Go Past Tech is actually it's his turn, and then
Yeah, like the discussions kind of derailed a lot, and I appreciate that Birent states that the fact that he was a libertarian, because it's kind of a help understanding where he's coming from. So basically, he thinks that freedom is absolute, and the freedom of speech is something absolute. We come from a different school of thought that thinks that some types of opinions are detrimental to any types of debate, especially when they are not based on facts. And those types of things that 1776 were unable to find proof for it, but just assumptions is already very problematic. I guess nobody wants to have a systems where justice runs on assumptions and not facts. So that's why we don't have a systems that works like that, because it opens the world for like a lot of unfairness and things like that. And so that idea of marketplace of ideas for me is just a total nonsense. And but I had another question for Birent. That's just my opinion, of course, and Birent will normally respect my opinion as an opinion. And the thing is, like, when you were saying, for example, that when you're slightly leaning to the left, your base is calling you commies, which is definitely not the case. I'm pretty sure you don't affiliate with communism in any way, shape, or form. But
no, I believe him.
At the same time, if your base thinks that communism is everything that is slightly to your left, you're making a very bad works at explaining what is politics to your base. So you should probably have concern about who is ignorant or not when you talk to the others, because we try to have more labels and on different ideologies, and that's problematic. So the world is not as simplistic as what 1776 is trying to get and be like, oh, the people that are my friend are saying that, so I believe that, and that's problematic. So yeah, I'll let you answer whatever you want to that, but facts should be like the base for any political debates, because politics is all about taking care of what's happening in society. And if you start not debating on facts, like, it's the open door to all the bullshit.
So, Brant, I'm going to let you go, but I just wanted to say...
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short. I'll keep it short.
No, I'm just going to say that we have a level 1 hype train happening right now in chat. Thank you so much. We have Marianne, Nara Slack, Juggling Thought, and Silty Mraz who've helped us out. Please, we are level 1 hype train. 83% done, 70% left. 3.5 minutes on the clock. Can we get to level 2 hype train? Subs to channel, gift bits, or gift subs. If we get some support here, then we can continue on for a time, right? And drag this past the end of the show, all right? I'd love to provide you more content, but you got to help me out. Sub, gift bits, or gift subs. If you're appreciating this content, appreciating having these different voices here, appreciating having this space, then support the space, invest in the channel. Please be so kind, right? Okay, go ahead, please, Brant.
Yeah. First off, ZZN, I came in hot at you, okay? Me and you had the bone to pick, and we went into our thing. In no way, Vivian never meant in any way to excite you. I know you jumped in, and I was kind of like talking to him, and I know there was a misconstruction there. I just want you to know that, yeah. No, I'm talking to you, ZZ. There was misconstruction.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
All right,
no.
cool.
And what I'm trying to say, no, you're good. I know. And see, that further bolsters my argument that there was... just to the very least, just a lot of confusion there, and I'm very much sorry, is what I was trying to clarify there. That being said, what GOP said with what I consider fact, when I'm doing my show and I'm showing things, I may have a subjective opinion on what I see, but I will never assert to the affirmative in what it is that is being shown. Whether it be a lot, actually 2-to-1 out favor the right. I cover more lefty events than I do righty events because I believe in making everyone feel as though they have an equal voice. They are heard. They have a chance to have a platform that says, look, even though I may not 100% agree with what it is that you have to say, I will show your content. I want people to know that I don't want to be caught with egg on my face when it be judged at the end that, Brant doesn't show an equal amount of righty as well as lefty content or just purely politically agnostic content. So when it comes to what my... But listen, but with my community, what they believe is what they believe. Who attracts to me is who attracts to me. I can't be, just like you can't be held liable for who it is.
Actually, I can. I know who's in my... I know
that's Voltaire's philosophy that you're describing.
And Vivian, before you respond...
They can respond if they want.
And Vivian, before you respond, we have a level 1 hype chain. We have less than a minute left. 97% done. 3% left. Holy shit.
Yo, give him some bits. Give him some subs. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this spicy.
Hold on one second.
I know.
Oh my god, please! I got to do this thing.
Sorry,
we have a we're level 1 hype train. Less than 30 seconds left. Can we save the hype train? Sub, donate bits, or donate subs.
Y'all keep the ball in the air. Come on.
Yeah,
Let's go.
let's see if we can make it. Sub or give bits or give subs.
One sub is all it takes, chat. One prime. Who's got a prime?
One prime
Who's got a
sub or
prime
anything
one?
like that.
Yep.
That'd be great. Help us out. We have a few seconds left on the clock. Thank you, Big Koompa, for gifting that one sub. And Anonymous Cheer for also gifting 100 bits. Thank you. Means a ton. And a few seconds ago. This is ton. Redolent Thought, thank you for gifting as well. And thing that is, thanks so much. And then Donner Blitzen, holy crap. Donner Blitzen, thank you for 10 subs. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you.
There we go. Let's go. Chat, hype train. Chat, let's go.
At a level 3 hype train because of Donner Blitzen, again, being amazing. Guys, like seriously, spam those Prime Banker emotes. And then Donner Blitzen, am I saying this again? It says, like...
I want to hear more of what Vivian has to say.
Donner
what she
Blitzen,
thinks is like...
1 second, because Donner Blitzen gifted a second time this stream, $222 to the channel, right? So this is 444. Thank you, Donner Blitzen, to our PC goal. Thank you, Donner Blitzen. Thank you. Holy crap! Everyone, please spam those Prime Banker emotes, right? Show the Donner Blitzen and everyone else who's participated that you really do appreciate them. Oh my god, it's amazing.
I'll relent my time to Vivian. I believe she was in the middle of saying something, and then I'll continue my conversation with her.
Absolutely. So we have 4.5 minutes on the clock. If anyone else wants to help keep the stream going, right? It's 48% done, 52% left. Level 3 hype train. 3.5 minutes on the clock. Can we get to level 4 hype train? Vivian, please.
Yeah, I mean, I know broadly the people that are in my audience. I know the sort of like sphere of ideologies that they're or worldviews that they encompass, right? And I think you do too, right? Which is why you consistently have people on your show that like help push that narrative, like the deranged MAGA videographer Villain Report, who thankfully died the other day and won't be able to produce any more content. Right?
I will say that I disagree with that. I think it's I would never chant for the death of any person.
I'm not chanting for the death of anybody. I'm just happy he's not making any more content.
Thankful that he's dead. I got it. Going ahead.
How did he die? How did he die?
He died in a hotel room. We don't know the cause of death yet.
It was lower body.
May he rest in peace. That's sad.
Wait, what was it? Do we know the cause of death now?
And I'm not going to actually, with respect to him, I will not give any details to that, but it's not as you speak. And I will say this, I want to be really, really, really respectful on PrimeCayes said, but I think that is very, very, very out of line to go after someone who died within 48 hours and say that you're thankful that they passed away. Look, this is not to go to cancel.
I mean, if it was Joe Biden,
person.
you'd be fucking jacking it off, right?
No, I would not. I've said I think that Joe Biden is a case of elderly abuse. That's my fucking semi-lefty opinion on it. Okay, I think it's elderly abuse.
Fine.
Okay.
If it was George Soros, you'd be fucking.
No. George Soros is like if we gave somebody trillions of dollars and they were in an old folks' home. But look, listen, I actually want to get off of that because it's bad. It's bad. No. Talking on the dead 48 hours, we do not know the specifics of that. I would ask.
Yeah, I don't care about how he died.
Move on.
I care about how he lived.
You were thankful of his death. You expressed your views. Let's please move on from that, please. Like I said.
Yeah, let's move on from somebody that you platformed multiple times, who's actually.
Like I said,
you can actually go look up now.
Do you want my specifics? I didn't agree with a lot of what Villain Report had to say, but I had him on my show for panels as well as covering his content. So I understood that a lot of what he said was something that I could not understand. And you want to know something? PrimeCayes, I respect you, okay? Vivian, he studied. He studied with what he identified as and it destroyed him as a human being. And for you
Yeah,
to
it really
bring
did.
that up, it's very self-destructive for you to bring that up on this stream right now. It was
Why
something you
self-destructive?
can
Is that a
access
threat?
because no, it is because no.
What
You're
destroyed
way
him
off
as a
base.
human being, right?
No,
What
because he
destroyed
struggled
him as a
whether
human
no
being
he
with the narratives that you continue to perpetuate.
Nope. What destroyed him as a human being were deeper thoughts than what you can think, and there are things that you can actually things that you can actually understand. But
He died from thinking too much. If you think too much, you can die.
No.
Opinions.
Actually, Vivian, look. Because I think you know not what you speak of. I would like to talk to you personally, 1v1 as a friend. Not even 1v1, one-on-one as a friend. I'm not against you. I would like to talk to you one-on-one as a friend on what he actually struggled.
I'm sorry, I don't know who this is, and who are you guys?
No.
Who is this person?
I don't want to bring this to your chat, Prime.
I mean, I'm not sure.
No,
Vivian.
Vivian. I would like to talk to you personally, one-on-one, off of this stream on Villain and what he struggled with. I think it would actually change and blow your mind on who Villain was. And a lot of the people in here don't know. See, that's the thing, Villain. You're going like this, right, with your hands. A lot of people would. If you watch my stream, I'm going to show you a VOD as well, Vivian, on what bothered him. For you to speak on his name, I think that you will end up being very heartbroken. And what it is, what you
we don't.
spoke
We're not actually
about.
talking about this. No.
We can move on. We can move on. I'm cool with moving on. But I just want Vivian to know. I would like Vivian to know that we can speak, because I don't want to lash out on you, knowing what it is that Villain came to me and talked to me about on my stream. I don't want to make that a punching bag.
Then we're good.
Yeah. I respect you, Prime. I respect you. I'm not going to go to that point.
Thank you so much.
I would like to talk to you off the stream on what it is that bothered him.
Sure.
Yeah,
is that okay?
I'll talk to anybody.
Would you grant me that?
one-on-one.
Would you grant me that? I would like for you to accept and say that.
I'll talk to anybody privately one-on-one.
Okay.
But
That's why I don't want to chastise.
Okay. We got it. Brant, we got it. Thank you.
Okay. I just don't want to chastise.
No, we got it.
Okay, good, great. So yeah, right. Like I am sad about the number of people that do die in this movement, this conspiracist movement, right? And the amount of people who have their families and their homes and their lives ripped away from them by their obsession, right, with this narrative around the New World Order and the communist takeover of the United States, etc. Right? They're rejected by their families, right? Or they reject their families. They split away from their churches and they go to new churches where their views are like whatever, right? They become isolated from their communities, and it's very fucking sad, right? And they fall deeper and deeper, and they do crazy fucking things, like trying to climb through the window into the speaker's lobby, right? And getting fucking
and I
shot
denounce
like Ashley
that.
Babbitt.
I want you to know I denounce that, Vivian.
I'm sure you do.
I denounce.
I'm sure you do.
Anything that is classified as a crime that was done, I don't care if it was constitutionally done, right? At that point, I think in the eyes of the law, it was deemed a crime by the current administration. It was a crime. The way it was done in the grand scheme of things did not line up to what we call
But
legal,
she did it,
right?
She did it, right? And I didn't go as hard on 70-76.
I don't agree with her end. I don't agree with her end.
Okay,
but
fine. I don't care. Will you stop? Look, I let you go for
You're
fucking
10
angel.
feet from
But,
fucking
like,
attacking Congress people?
Look, I don't care, right? It's the
like
fucking
the same level of
Oh
precision
my
that
God.
you require from
Hey,
a
Brett,
law
like,
enforcement.
she's trying to respond.
Prime.
Yeah,
I'm
no
sorry.
problem, no problem.
I promise. I apologize.
Please.
So she did what she did, right? Because of the narratives that are perpetuated through the media sphere that you contributed to, right? Now, you are a very, very small cog in that machine, right? You're like a budget Red Pill 78, right? You're not fucking like
I'm not a
Linwood or
red
anything,
pillar.
right?
I red
But,
pill,
like-
but I'm not a red pill.
God.
If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I'm sure, and we all
Okay.
want to distance
Whatever you-
ourselves
hey.
as much as possible and pretend that we're not contributing to this. But it's very, very fucking obvious from the content that you've made and the content that you put out and the things that you said, right? And you will not disabuse your audience of the notion that like there is a new world order and a potential communist takeover of the United States, right? You will not.
Why are we
disabuse
talking
your-
about it though?
Why are we talking about it? Because those are the things that directly led to Ashley Babbitt's death, and those are the things that you will not denounce.
A
and the things that you
communist
continue to
takeover is
promote.
what led to Ashley Babbitt's death. I'm just questioning you because I want to give you plenty of time to talk.
The perception that the United States was in the midst of some form of authoritarian takeover, broadly regarded as communist by the people who like followed the Q movement and the MAGA cult into that building. Yes.
Well, let me ask you this: addressing your redress of your grievances democratically, what is that in your mind?
Sorry, redress of grievances democratically.
Okay. The entire spring, the entire summer, the entire fall, the entire winter of 2020, the entire spring, the entire summer of fucking
Will you do all the
2021.
seasons?
No. Look. If we'll call the left's crimes, I will call.
They're crying. The left is
Then what? Then what the right did? Okay, then what the right did on the 6th
This is whataboutism.
to whatever statutory
Yes.
degree was a crime outside of
Okay,
the egregious.
fine,
Do you not
but
believe
why
in the
did they do
failures
it?
of the administration?
But why did they
like,
do it?
People that had the control of the Capitol Police.
Why did they do it?
Why did they allow that?
It's
Okay,
all very well for me.
Can I give like? Okay, can I put on my tinfoil hat and give my thing?
You've talked a lot. Like if I was to get on this panel, right? If I was to get and get a huge huge media ecosystem of people all saying Brent for Liberty is a pedophile, right? He's fucking abducting children. Okay, he's murdering them in his basement, right? And I continued doing that. And what I said was, oh, but don't do anything to him because that would be a crime and that would be bad, right? I would still be responsible for the narratives that led to whatever the fuck ended up happening to you because of that, right? I would still have a hand in it. And that's what I'm saying about you, right? A very small cog in the fucking
No,
machine,
you'd be left
but
with a lot of
contributed to that
no,
media ecosystem.
No, in my utopia and a purely little
In your utopia, not in the real world.
No.
Dominic Cooper is one of your victims.
No. Realistically, like, I honestly think majority of Americans, I give them the respect of thinking that they operate within the Goldilocks zone of rationale and logic, and I don't think they buy into what the very radical minority of both the right and the left buy into, where they feel as though they need to carry. No, quiet. They carry water for both the left and the right. And as somebody who is a centrist, a South centrist who loves social programs, by the way, I love the fire department. I can't rave enough about the public education system if funded the correct way.
And make sure we get CRT out of it as well, because that's a problem. Right?
If it's
Make
a
sure to
direct
vaccinate
reflection,
kids. I don't want my kids getting smallpox.
if it's a direct reflection of the constituency, why the
CRT
fuck
was
does your
never a
opinion
part of
matter?
it.
No, in a
CRT was
libertarian,
never a part
in
of
a
it.
libertarian utopia, who gives a fuck what it is that you have to say? If you're not in our county, if you're not voting on our rules, who gives a fuck what it is you have to say? Because we're voting on our rules. So if you believe in what it is that we believe, then I guess you're cool. If not, who gives a shit if you're
and
not
what
in our
is it
county
that
lines?
you believe and propagate? Like you keep doing this
And
wild
it's a direct.
about.
That's the thing. I'm talking
You
about the
keep
infrastructure in
dodging
which
and
I believe in. You're talking
Oh,
about direct result. No, you believe in a specific result in which you want your subjective to reign supreme. I believe in the mechanism, which is the court of public opinion. I believe.
I mean,
in which
maybe
free
she can
market
give her
environment-
own opinion, since
Go
you
ahead.
want to ascribe her own thoughts to
Well,
it.
she has. She's already said she's a very autocratic in which the way she believes. She believes in very specific. She doesn't believe in a democratic
She
way.
said that was autocratic.
Never said
She's-
that.
You're spreading lies right
in
away.
which way is she?
That's
Okay,
problematic.
I do believe in democracy.
Okay, which Senate? No, you're all white knighting. She has in
No,
no
I'm
way
not
ever
fucking white
alluded to
knighting.
democracy. No, she's in
Not at
no
all.
way alluded to democracy. You're just mad because you're all getting pounded right now. It's okay. She hasn't
You yelling
alluded
over us
to
is not
anything
us getting
specific.
pounded.
No.
I mean, you're
The
not
fact that
saying
you feel
anything
the need to
substantive.
jump in like white knights. You're all
I can
failing
yell over you
terribly.
too. Works
No,
very, very
as
well.
I
You see, I
absolutely
mean, if
stroke
you really
all
want to be an
over all of
asshole
you.
about it,
No,
stroke
you're
over
actually
there.
getting stroked.
Ew,
Yo,
that's
what-
fucking
okay,
weird, bro.
No, you're an
What the
absolute
fuck?
white
You're
knight.
stroking
go ahead,
over
bro.
me?
Yo, tell me, bro.
Oh,
Tell me,
boy.
bro. Tell me, mullet. Tell me about it in Soul Patch. Tell me what you got. What else you got? You're
I have
stroking on me.
started saying that I won
you
that
complete
debate.
what it is that I'm saying because you're getting pounded right
Ad
now.
hoc, Tommy.
It's okay. No, it's
Pounded.
okay. No, this is
I
what
have
it's
the right
said
to
when
say
you have
that.
nothing. What else have you said? What else have you said?
wait.
You're a
this
white
is-
knight.
this
You're a
is
white knight.
nonsense.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
we-
need
we-
anybody
Don
to.
your helmet.
I think
Don
I'd be
your,
alright with
don
going
your
around
little
the body.
saber.
No,
You're
okay,
getting
all right,
pounded
all
right
right,
now.
this is
You have
very-
nothing
this is
else.
more- this is
You
more
have
very-
nothing else.
Oh
Smile.
my god! Shut up! This is very quickly devolving into the unfun kind of shit show where we like trade pointless barbs against each other and not actually talk about the ideas and like shit on each other's ideas. That part I like. This part where we're just like tossing these random personal attacks, that's really boring to me. So like, let's get back to the issues.
I don't need anybody to white knight for me. I just need Brant to
Exactly.
stop being.
They just-
I just
I
need
want- I
Brant
wanted to hear a
stop,
view.
I just need to stop Brant being Brant to stop being a fucking weasel, right? And actually address the fact that like because I do care about.
Let me
Wait,
give
shut
Vivian
shut
what
up,
she
shut up,
wants.
shut up,
Can I
shut
give
up,
you
shut
what
up.
you want?
No. You're gonna allow me
Okay.
to finish fucking speaking, and
Okay.
you can say your thing. All right?
Okay.
Because I've had enough of the fucking sophistry. Now,
Ah.
I care about democracy, right? Therefore, I care about the narratives that undermine it, right? The narratives
Based off your
that
subjective or the objectives?
I mean, it's pretty fucking objective that the people who were there on J6 were
No. Is that
undermining
based off of
democracy.
your subjective lens, or is that off of democracy and constitutional republic's reflection of that opinion? No, you're speaking in the affirmative. You're saying, oh, because I believe this, everyone should believe this, and
You
because I
can't
have
do
a
it.
following.
He's
because
not
some
interested
fucking
in
users
it.
that eat dino
He's not
nuggets that watch
interested
my
in anything
shows.
anyone
They
else
say-
is saying.
No,
Yeah.
you are
So,
speaking in the affirmative in your own
That's what I-
subjective, and you don't recognize it. And I'm calling you out on it for probably the first time in your career. But go on ahead and continue, Vivian. Tell me, ma'am. Tell me.
Yes, everything everybody says is subjective. okay?
No.
It's
What's
fine.
happening right now is
So-
the pound is so good that it's hard to take in. So all you can say is like, yeah, you're real,
Yeah, the pound's worth like what, 1.5, 1.6 dollars. Fucking UK supremacy.
No,
all right?
no.
Now,
The
listen.
thing is you have nothing to come back right now other than the fact that you laugh awkwardly because you have no specific rebuttal. If you had a rebuttal,
you have not.
Then why do you keep cutting her
You
off
have
and not letting her
not.
finish a sentence if you think
you-
she has nothing to say?
You tried to say her specific rebuttal for her,
now
dude.
we're gonna white knight pile on, guys. Here we go. Here we
You
go.
have not
All
answered.
right, for all the
You have
conservatives
not-
in the chat, this is
You
what
have
we deal
not
with.
answered. You have not answered. You have not
Video.
answered. Holy fucking shit! You have not answered to the accusation, right? That I leveled.
No, I
right?
tried to give you
That
what
the
you want, but you cut me
perpetuation-
off to say what you
that
wanted to say.
the perpetuation.
Speak for an hour.
The
So what are you
perpetuation of
talking?
the perpetuation
I
of
tried
the
to give her
narrative.
what she wanted.
Perpetuation of the narrative of the New World Order threatening an authoritarian takeover of the United States is what led to January 6th, right? And it's what separates so many people from their fucking families, right? It's destroying people's fucking lives. It's wrecking people like Dominic Cooper's fucking lives, right? Because they're so stuck in these fucking rabbit holes that it messes with their ability to interact socially or interact with fucking reality, right? And you,
It's
as a member of
actually
the,
not
you
in
as a
my life,
member.
I feel more free being open with a different political opinion. And
I'm
just because, what's your name again? Sorry, mate, I keep forgetting.
Vivian.
Vivian. Just because you have a different belief, I have nothing against you, mate. You can believe whatever you want to believe. You know,
I've got
I'm
nothing
fine, I'm
against
just
you
listening to
either.
you. That's
It's
good,
just-
you know. And
It's just that it's so. I literally just want you to accept, right, that you on your show help to perpetuate these narratives, right?
No,
You
I
agree with
allow
the globalists
no,
and the
no,
New
no,
World
no.
Order.
You say these narratives. Look, now I've let you speak. Let me speak
Mm-hmm.
now for just a minute, and I promise I will let everybody
Just
else,
one
the
minute.
sharks that
Okay.
think that they are. Okay, yeah. So listen, I allow everybody's point of view. I don't believe that the popular opinion wins. Sometimes it's a popular opinion on the right, like, oh, stop the steal. Sometimes there's a popular opinion on the left. There's crazy things that I don't agree with as a person in the center. So I don't dabble in the bipartisan politics. Yeah, I try to
Can I come
not
on
be a
your show as an
labelist.
anti-fascist? Can I come on your show?
If you want to, I give my platform to anybody. Anybody.
Well, what about us white knights, homie?
100%. If you want to,
Just me sitting
come on
there
here,
talking for,
I don't know how far you'll get, but if on my show you have to disagree and you have to get in and make a logic point.
You have to let people talk, Brent.
Well, as a host, I do. Tonight I'm a panelist.
It was his turn. So are you done with your point, Brant?
No. All I want to say is that I agree with you, Vivian, that my platform enables a lot of people to think in an activated standpoint. I've played a lot of leftist material that have probably activated.
What does that mean? What is an activated
Because
standpoint?
I covered liberty and freedom-based movements, whether it's on the left or the right. I believe, and you know what? As a libertarian, I believe that the police disenfranchise the community. I believe in that. You know, that's got me called a commie a lot of the time. I believe that the police have fucked up a lot. I don't just trust every police officer. I don't believe in the Blue Lives Matter. I don't believe in all that stuff. But what you would think, you would hate them.
Be clear about it.
Exactly.
Neither do the JC
I don't trust the
rioters.
establishment. I'm a
We heard the
Southie.
screams of the fuck the blue, right? Like,
Can I
we know the
say
J6 rioters don't have any
Exactly.
respect for cops.
Exactly. I would honestly, Vivian, I would love to have your opinion on my show because I think in the spirit of compromise, whether we agree to disagree or we agree, maybe I change your mind, you change my mind. Much like PrimeCayes, I like to have discussions like this. That's why I came on here tonight. I got done having a really great spirited debate and I came on here. I came on here ready to challenge people. I didn't, and by the way,
you
I
haven't
apologize for
challenged
the
anything.
mishap earlier. Well, yes, I have. The fact that even if
literally
you're
haven't.
wrong, unless you infringe on other people's lives, you should be able to be wrong.
So,
That's what my point has
I
been.
do want to let
Cooper.
encourage people to be wrong.
But I will reclaim my time.
Let
challenged
Cooper
our
go.
ability
Cooper,
to
please.
stay on topic.
Yeah.
You encourage people to be wrong, and that's the problem.
Cooper, please.
Sorry, who's the guy with the sunrise at the back? The guy, Brad, right? Brad?
Yeah, Brant.
Okay, I've got something interesting to tell you. There are good police officers and there are bad police officers. But the problem is I think it was in 2005, George Bush signed an executive order where the police officers aren't actually obligated to protect people. It's a true thing, he did. So technically, you know, that is a bit, yeah.
I believe it was a court case that was lost, actually, that set the precedent that the police aren't necessarily there to protect the public.
Did you hear? I guess you didn't hear him. Cooper, you want to repeat what you said to him? He said something to you, Brant.
I heard a little bit of it. I'm sorry. I had to go pee so bad. I was dancing around. Apologize.
That was really quick. Go ahead, Cooper.
Yeah. It's right.
Did you want me?
Yeah,
you want me
repeat
to
it.
repeat what I
Yeah,
said?
because he didn't hear it. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I just want to clarify this. There are good police officers, there are bad police officers. I am grateful for the police officers who protect the community, who do what the right thing is, which is a great thing. But just to let you know, when you say, like, for instance, the Blue Lives Matter movement, and also the other movements, just to let you know, in 2005, George Bush signed an executive order which meant the police are not obligated to protect people in America. It's an executive order, you know? And that is kind of a part of a socialist, United States has not been a free country since 1913, since the Federal Reserve Act, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah. One thing I truly dread, for sure. But I would agree with you. 1776. I agree with police that follow the orders of just order takers. Or not order takers, order distributors. So those particular communities in which they're giving out lawful orders, I support those. But I uphold sheriffs that choose not to do what the local.
Yeah, of course, it's terrible. It's terrible, you know, how
Right.
police will just take things into their own hands. You know, anybody should. Sorry, is his name Vivian? What do you think about bad police
her
officers?
name.
What do you think?
Her name.
Her
Vivian.
name.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I apologize.
What do you think
by the
about
way,
bad police
Vivian.
officers?
I
What
have
do you
nothing
think's
but
the
love.
problem
I
with
like spirited debates. That's what I like.
What do you think, Vivian, of police officers? What's your opinion on them? What do you think's the problem with police officers in America?
I think that's a really, really long conversation that we're probably not ready to have.
No, I would honestly, outside of the conversation that we're gonna have, Vivian, at any time you would ever like to have like a sit down, I think that you have a lot to say. I think that I came out heavy and then things got a little bit frictiony. But like honestly, I have a lot to say as well, and I think that it could be towards a fruitful debate.
I think that there are a lot of QAnoners on this fucking platform, and a lot of people.
I
who
think they
push
and you know what?
Q adjacent narratives, right?
Can I just
And
agree with you that I think that the
those
QAnon movement is terrible? Can I tell
know,
you that
I
think
know,
that's
and so
terrible?
do,
That I think
and
that's
so do,
terrible?
and so do.
Grant, you
Let
just
me
made my
ask you
heart
this.
sing.
Yeah,
No,
guys,
but listen. Do you,
hold on.
Vivian? Do you think that there aren't
Yeah.
any points that me and you can ever agree on? Let me ask you this: do you think me
I
and
am
you can never
sure
agree
there
on
are
things?
points that we can agree on, especially if you
Okay.
see yourself as a libertarian, because I'm an
Of
anarchist,
course,
right? So there will
very
be
much. I'm a
things that we
social
agree on.
monarchist. I am right there
But,
with you. Of
well,
course.
I'm not quite a minarchist, but
By the way, I'm an
I mean,
libertarian.
you're just north
Okay.
of me, just like ANCAPs are just north of, or just south of me.
I would, whatever.
You know, that made sense. I'm drunk, but yeah, it made sense.
So what I'm saying is, right, that like, yes, there are people who will separate themselves from those crazy QAnoners, right, and still push the exact same fucking narratives. You won't quite go into the adrenochrome shit, right? But like, the fundamental conspiracy. Yeah, the fundamental conspiracy theory, right?
Renounce it.
Which like pushed forward the militia movement in the 80s, the fucking the flat Earth movement,
90s.
right? And QAnon right now, right? That same New World Order conspiracy, right? That has its ties in the protocols.
But like
okay?
a broken
That is
clock,
the
I
stuff-
think it's
that
right
is the
2
stuff
times
that
a
you
day.
keep- Well, I mean, if you think the protocols of the learned elders of Zion are correct,
I think a
then
majority
you're
of
only
it's
proving my
bullshit, just
point.
like you, Vivian.
And it's 9 o'clock, and
I
that's just not a
agree
good
with
parallel. You can't just make the parallel
It
because
doesn't
it
mean
fits your narrative.
no, because what that proves is you don't just throw like the baby out with the bathwater. You keep
Q's been wrong.
Analyze.
Objectively, completely wrong.
No. What
Yes,
I'm
he has.
I think
What's he
you're
been right
missing-
about?
Oh no. Okay.
Oh,
Specifically,
what's Q
I don't
been
know.
right
What Q? Nothing, in my opinion. Nothing.
Then
Okay,
yeah,
go,
that's
go.
what I'm saying.
Well,
So there's
you-
throw
you
the whole
kinda
baby
you
out with the
fishtailed
bathwater,
on me
everything.
there.
goes.
Look. You fishtailed on me there. It's okay. I corrected myself. The Q I've denounced almost since day one. I've covered it as a meme. It's been. Let me just say this.
Same as Alex Jones, pretty
Mainstream
much.
Prime. It's
Yeah.
been really fucking great meme song material. Okay, all the QAnon shit has been great. It sells. Okay, QAnon shit sells for the right wing, like fucking mojo train. Okay.
Yes.
All that aside. Let's fucking bring it back. Let's rope it back to the air of reality. What Vivian is talking about as a libertarian, something that I'm talking about is a lot of the shit that's brought up in the fucking QAnon movement, whether it be General Flynn's gonna jump in with the fucking, he's gonna come in through the ceiling, he's gonna repel with the A-team and the fucking helicopter, and he's gonna change the Constitution like Nicolas Cage and fucking National Treasure. Like some shit like that's gonna happen. I laugh at that shit and bank off of it because it's so ridiculous. There are people adjacent to me in the same community that continue to house and go in that direction, and their following reflects the failure of the marketplace of ideas, the thing we're talking about. I think that even though it may be popular for a little bit, it's fun to think that there's somebody gonna the trust the plan thing, right? It feels great. Like somebody's gonna come save you.
Trust the plan.
Yeah. You trust the plan. It feels great, but you end up with cake on your face. Like I've said, the egg on your face pun. I make fun of that, and a lot
Yes,
of
we
my
know.
people.
Jordan Sutherland were all crazy, making these ridiculous predictions. They're not going to come true. However,
Of course,
the core,
JFK
however,
Jr. is
the-
not coming
however,
back. He died.
exactly, yeah,
folks. He died.
negative,
Exactly.
negative
I
48 's a
agree with you.
dangerous cult leader.
But
But
in
like,
the air of
we-
reality, people need to be able to air their own personal, respective opinions on what they think. Even though
Yes, but what is your opinion?
I agree with you that a lot of their opinions are bunk, Vivian. But
Yes.
should I think that they shouldn't exist? Like
At
we're
no
talking
point
about
have I
ex-
said they shouldn't exist. What I'm
but,
saying
but,
to
but
you,
stamp,
what I'm
but
saying
stamping
to
something
you,
as reality. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my thing.
Right. What I'm
Hey,
saying
Brett,
to you,
Brett.
what I'm saying to you is the fundamental shit that you push on your show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the New World Order fucking conspiracy theory, or
I don't
you
do
can
that.
say, you literally just did it earlier.
No,
right?
no. That is the derivative, the
Will you
objective,
tell your
the thing we
will you
look
tell
at,
your
which is what
audience
people
that the
believe
New World
in.
Order is bullshit? Will you do that?
Do
for
I?
us?
Would I tell
You
everyone
you
that I
said
think
no,
that the
it's
new?
true.
I've never spoken the affirmative on my own
You
subjective on
literally
anything.
did.
All I've
You
said is
literally did earlier on this panel when the last time that I asked you to tell your
which-
audience that the New World Order is bullshit.
When did
You were
I
like,
say
no,
that?
it's true.
Can you clip it? Which one?
I mean, I can't go back in the VOD right now
Okay,
and clip it.
if you
I'm pretty sure-
can do it, and that's cool, I will say that if you do, that I will renounce it now. That I don't necessarily think the New World Order is like a terrible idea. I think there are people trying to merge decentralized currencies together. I do think that there are countries that are working together. Like if you looked at NATO and what their involvement in Ukraine and Russia is, like if you looked really at China's impact on the global market, have you looked at like the pandemic and where we are 2 years ago and where we are now, have you really done anything, or is this all about just
You get a lot of
being really
supposition and
cynical?
guesses.
Yeah.
You get a lot of guessing.
Have you looked at this?
No.
and
Is
that,
it
and
easier
this?
to just say that
There you
than
go.
to argue it? No. But what I'm saying is, I'm arguing about things that are objectively happening. Y'all are injecting your own.
But you're not
subjective,
saying
like-
they're doing anything. You're not giving us the connection. You're not giving us the things that make them matter.
Because to sit here would take minutes for me to pour my heart on what I
Hey
think is
guys,
going on with
look!
me.
I just know
host-
that Brent spends a lot of time outside of like local schools and stuff. I'm not saying anything, okay? Like Brent spends a lot of time outside of local schools. I know he's like a big fan of like child beauty pageants. I'm not saying anything, okay? He's just a big fan of child beauty pageants. I'm not saying anything, okay? He's just
He's not
he's
saying
just
anything.
he's just
He's not
consistent. Yeah,
saying
no,
anything,
and I mean he's really interested in
fuck is
football
this
coaching.
about?
It's really fucking weird. Like I don't know. I'm not saying
Grant,
anything.
are you a teacher?
I'm not actually saying anything.
I'm confused.
Okay.
I'm a guy that talks to his camera in a second bedroom in his apartment, just like everybody else does majorly.
I do it in my first bedroom. Thank you very much.
It's really weird that he
No.
hangs out in the car in the park with a video camera all the time. I'm not saying anything though. Right by the children's swings. Not saying anything.
Chat, I've never done that. I love.
Have
I
you
love it,
seen
chat. Look,
his car? Have you seen the
Screen
fact
cap.
that you there's been some rope in the background? You know, have you seen that he's occasionally used duct tape? Have you seen it? I mean, I'm just saying. Have you looked at those things?
I can hear him thinking about it.
Yeah, sometimes when he's on stream, I can hear screams in the background. Sounds like kids. I'm not saying anything.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah,
no.
chat.
Not
Why
saying
talk
anything,
about
though.
what was talked about when you can create your own reality?
Hey, Vivian, I got a question for you. I just thought of a
Remember that,
question.
chat. You want real news? You want real like topics?
Go ahead, Cooper, please.
Okay, so Vivian, you don't believe in the New World Order, right? I got a question for you. Hey, do you know what a social credit score is? You know the TV show.
I
Black
know
Mirror?
that.
Because of the-
I know the
the
I know the
absolute
meme about.
poundage.
Yeah, I know the meme about China.
What will you do if the social credit score becomes a reality in? You're in the UK, right?
I mean, we already have a kind of social credit score. It's called like a resume and a criminal record, and
Well,
a credit
the
score
social-
actually.
Well, a social credit score is not just a criminal record, but it's also, for instance, if you had a low score, you wouldn't be able to go to a bar, you wouldn't be able to go to a restaurant.
Yeah, no,
it's
I
not
understand.
just small things. It's all about control.
I don't
And
want
for a
that
long
system.
time-
Yeah.
I'm
And
cool.
for a
I'm
long
cool
time-
as well as like moving on topics. If you want to know
Cooper.
It's all good.
Sorry.
So I don't think we're going to have that in the United Kingdom or in New Zealand or in the United States.
Oh no, I don't think they will. People will protest against it.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're even going to try and bring it in. But
I mean,
like,
are you a prophet?
it'd be
I'm
electorally
not a
disastrous.
prophet. I'm just giving my opinions out. I'm just here to talk. I'm not here to say, oh, I'm right. I'm just.
So
being
why are you worried?
respectful.
Why are you mentioning?
It
No,
will happen.
I just want to know about the social credit score. Why are you talking about the social credit score then? Because we've just both agreed that like it would be electorally disastrous for anybody to propose it. Like no government's going to propose it. As far as I can see, the only way you could impose something like that is to have an insanely autocratic, authoritarian government. And once we're at that stage, we've got way more fucking problems than just a social credit score. So why are you worried about a social credit score?
Yeah, little
Oh,
boogeyman.
just with the
Literal
way the
boogeyman.
world, the way things are going, you know, they didn't say a vaccine passport was going to happen, and look what happened, you know.
Where's that happening?
Oh, the vaccine passport?
It's happening a lot. Can I speak on this because this is like my area of expertise?
Is it?
Is that cool?
Sure, go ahead.
Is
Brad,
it?
go ahead.
What- are you a
Okay,
virologist?
No. I'm somebody
Pathologist?
who streams 12 to 15 hours every day. Has streamed 6,000 hours in the last 16
That does not make you an expert, homie.
Yeah, it does on exactly what we're talking about, even if it is subjective. The fact that I can point to exactly what's happening. Yeah. Let me put my glasses up. Okay. All right. Let's get back to it. All right. So Austria. Vaccine passport, the green pass, will be in effect in the next 2 weeks. France, same thing. That's why you see these French bastards, these Italian bastards out there. They're out there fucking protesting because freedom matters. The choice over your body, lefties, it matters, okay? My body, my choice. The same thing that you think would be an infestation, a cancerous
It is.
growth.
It's true. Freedom is an important thing.
Right in the
Okay, this is just sophistry and rhetoric.
No,
We want to see
Someone who
no,
they love the public education system, despite the fact that the public education system mandates you get like 12 fucking vaccine.
It's really hard to deal
That's
with.
a fact.
Facts,
You gonna contend with that fact? Did you go to public education?
You haven't refuted anything that I've said.
Public education mandates that kids get a magnitude of vaccines.
Said or shut the fuck up. Refute what I've said or shut the fuck up.
He has refuted it.
How did you refute it?
We couldn't
To what
possibly
degree?
repeat everything you said. We'd be here for another 10 hours.
And Kazim.
I asked you a question. I asked you a question. You answered it. Cool. I'm saying
No.
I don't
What
see
is
a problem.
What is it that I answered, Kaz? What is it that I answered?
Where it's happening.
Where
That's
is
what
it
I asked.
happening?
I
It's
asked
in
where,
the EU.
where.
The fact that it's happening in Australia, the fact that they need to get to 80, 90% vaccination
Let me
rate,
turn
and
this
even
dude down. He yells so much.
I'm not even at all yelling right now.
Cool story,
I know
bro.
facts hurt the ears. I know, Lefty. It's okay. Get served. So here we go. Australia, something. I know. That's the stupid laugh that you do whenever you.
Did you go to public education?
Yeah.
You gonna address my point since you're
No.
busy with getting me to address yours? I addressed yours.
I had a mix of private and public education.
I mean, this is just such a
God
silly thing
forbid.
to argue with Brand.
all right.
Like,
No.
So
I
you've had
know.
vaccine mandates.
Vaccine passports do
Anything to
exist.
interrupt the
Cool.
fucking fact.
It's so silly. Vaccine passports do exist, right? And vaccine passports are being used to deny people access to certain.
Hey, fucking Kaz
facilities.
Joe Dirt here. Kaz Joe Dirt. What do you think it takes to get into the United States there, big boy? What do you think it takes to get into the United States?
I'm pretty sure it's a clean test.
No. It takes a vax, you fucking moron. It takes a vax. He who's no. It takes a vax, you fucking idiot. You should go look it up right now. It takes a vax and a clean test. You fucking idiot.
I think it might
Destroyed.
be. I think it might be or a clean test, but I'm not 100% sure.
Nah. It's vax.
I'm going to DC to meet a bunch of people from the UK in like 7 days, and they've all told me the same thing.
It's
Gotta
not
have a clean
international.
test.
It's not international. That's interstate. That's interstate.
UK! The UK! The United Kingdom is another country, homie.
Okay, did they have vaccines? Did they have?
It's not international. You're totally engaging the argument right now.
No. I'm destroying you.
So public education, right? Public education, right?
Look at how uncomfortable.
Public education, right?
Okay, now
you had some public education, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you've had a vaccine mandate. You've already gone through it. It didn't hurt you. It's the same delivery mechanism that they used for the vaccine. What are you complaining about?
Because there's not an EUA behind the vaccines I had to get for school. There's NCIS, which is
okay, waffle. What about some things you thought you heard on the internet?
No.
Mr.
Prime, am I going to get a chance to?
I mean, it's so dumb, right? Because
I don't know if the world will ever get a chance.
Okay.
And as far as I can tell, Brand's right.
Okay, so let me educate people. No. I know. But in the United States. Oh, outside of the EUAs, let me fucking school Joe Dirt here.
I ask questions genuinely. I don't do it as some kind of got you like you. Because I'm not some wannabe radio presenter on here acting like you're Mr. Politico.
Okay, whatever you got to get out, bro. I understand. You're a little dog in here. It's okay. But listen, Kat.
First time in here, man. I'm doing this shit for fun. I find it interesting to interact with people like you that think they're all so right about everything, but can't even string two fucking facts together and explain why they're related. That's the important part you're missing here. You can't explain why they're related.
He just has to keep moving his mouth because he's wrong. He's been proven wrong.
No, you want to engage my point. Why should I engage yours?
Because Listen, because federally.
Okay, I admitted I'm wrong.
This.
Cool. I'm saying, what's the
All right,
problem with the mandate at this
okay,
point?
listen. All disrespect out of the side. My bad, Kaz. You've admitted that you're wrong.
I don't care.
I know, but listen. I just want to prove my point. I don't care about our relationship on this. Okay, whether you think I'm wrong, I'll let you win on this. Okay, whatever. Fuck. I just want to make my point that federally. Right now, outside of the EUAs that we have right now, it's not about whether he or she said the gotcha moment. Right now is getting the facts out. That's what I deal with daily. And that is anything outside of the EUAs we have right now, if you have an adverse reaction, there is an avenue federally in which you can receive compensation. You cannot get compensation for what it is that has been passed in the last 18 months. You cannot. Everything else, measles, mumps, rubella, fucking tetanus.
Yeah, I'm just telling you facts, guys. I'm not actually trying to create any kind of narrative with these facts.
Yeah. I don't want Kaz. I want to dispel anything like Kaz. My bad. I'm getting too much friction.
I mean, it's bullshit.
I'm not trying to. I'm trying to say to the facts. I want to have a good discussion.
You don't want to have a good discussion.
We were.
No.
No, you automatically assume the question I asked was some kind of disingenuous trap. Like, you called me a white knight earlier because you were trying to ascribe views to someone else. It's kind of irritating.
I'm trying to give you an equal platform, and it's not enough. So the right can never win.
Not even close.
The right can never win. Kaz,
I mean, you're literally not
talking,
Brand, for like.
Well, what is up, everybody? How is everybody doing tonight with all the yelling?
Because I have legitimate points to make, and no one has actually countered what it is that I say.
I mean,
so funny.
how can anybody counter it when you basically never shut up, right? Like,
I'll shut up when I hear facts. If I hear lying,
okay.
Here's
the
oh my
facts,
God,
then.
please.
Here's the facts then. The facts that you choose to focus on create a narrative. You cannot escape that. And I know you are trying to pretend like all you do is focus on facts, but just like I said earlier, right? We can focus on individual facts to create a narrative that is not in fact reality. It's very, very easy to do that, right? I can focus on a whole bunch of facts about one specific
better
thing
than
to
your
craft
facts,
a
I
narrative.
know.
No, it's not my facts are better than your facts. It's that if we're going to look at facts, right, we have to look at all the facts and not just pick them selectively.
Oh,
in
like
order
what
to
I've been saying
support
this
our
whole
narrative.
time, which is that even if you have stupid ideas, they should be allowed, right? Would you agree?
I mean, the fact that some people
they should
have
be allowed.
Right, the fact that some people have stupid ideas
and
is
I
a
agree
fact,
with you, Kaz.
but
They're
the
dumb.
ideas,
Some
but
of them
the
are
ideas
dumb,
that,
Kaz.
but the ideas that they have are not facts, right? We can separate.
Exactly. They're their own
Cool,
subjective
good.
opinions, but they should be allowed in the marketplace of ideas. We shouldn't just say, my
Okay, I don't know
fact
why we
or
are
our
arguing
fact.
about cancelling.
I
right
know
now.
that,
Nobody's
Vivian, but
talking about
the original argument was the discernment of what should be administered to the public court of opinion. And that is something that people can digest and say, I either refute this or I accept it. And the thing is that you are just saying that there's a whole swath of opinions that shouldn't be added to the public court of opinion. And that's terrible. Even though I think that even your ideas should be allowed, even though I may disagree with some of them.
What if my idea is Brent is a pedophile and we should just
it should be allowed in the thing because people will know that I'm not that, and then they will be able to
I don't
adjust
know.
their
I don't
own
know
opinions.
if I could get enough people.
Even popular ideas like Nazism can become the thing that's the height, and they can be clobbered by what is the overall best idea, which is the freedom of thought and the ability to coexist.
So
I'm
I mean,
Jewish
that's
person.
a really dumb. That's a really dumb fucking
No, it's
example
it
because
is the fundamental
obviously
that you avoid. It's the fundamental.
it's a really
I
dumb
understand.
example because like
No, it isn't. It's
because
dumb because it beats you. I know. It's okay.
You're incapable of
I
hearing any
brought that example up. I brought that example up.
I mean, 1776 or anybody else can just
let me.
You're incapable
I say
of hearing any opposition, right? Every time anyone tries to answer your fucking points, you just start talking over them again, right?
Because
so you
you
brought
start-
up fucking again. You're doing it, right? Again, you're doing it. Clearly, you're not interested in a conversation. Clearly, you're not interested in what other people have to say. Clearly, you just want to say your fucking thing and not get any pushback. Now, if you're interested in the fucking marketplace of ideas, how about you listen to the fucking pushback?
Oh,
right?
I did, and then I submitted my idea.
No, you
back.
didn't. You're still not doing it. Okay.
Well,
So
what else do you have to add?
So if you
what
think
do you have to
No,
add
you're
from
still
the
not
moment
doing
in
it.
which
See,
I
look at
talk?
this.
Well, what
It's
do you have
still
to
not fucking
add?
doing
You
it.
have nothing. You're just
I'm
complaining
literally
because
ready to.
you're
I'm literally
using
trying
this-
to add it right now.
You're using this
Look,
as
you're
a
doing
slot.
it again.
It's okay.
You're doing it
Look
again.
at you.
You're just missing something out of the thing that doesn't make it a fact.
It's very boring. So so you mentioned Nazism or whatever. That's a really, really stupid example. It doesn't fucking prove your point at all, right? Nazism was allowed in the Nazism was allowed in the marketplace of ideas, and what happened? Nazi fucking Germany. Duh.
Right. And
like
look
clearly
what
the
happened.
best.
Look
Clearly
at
the
them.
best idea. Clearly the best
No,
idea.
look at what happened to
Can
them.
I add to that?
You look at what happened to them. They reigned for like nearly a fucking decade.
Who's next?
And spawned multiple fucking fascist movements across the globe. What?
Do you know? There's a lot of like libertarian-like Nazis that were fine with the Nazi Party, and then
I denounced them. You're a Nazi. Obviously, I'm a Jew. I hate
idiot. Well, the night of the Long Nights happened, and the Nazis killed all the libertarian gay Nazis because it was.
Sorry, Dan.
Yeah,
they only built the coalition to break it down later.
Because because think of this, Brand. If the people that we think we're so afraid of them succeeding, the first thing they would do if they end up consolidating your power is kill all the people that are libertarians because there'll be a threat to their stability of a
kill all the libertarian Nazis that supported their idea, or
well,
all the
they had
libertarians in
before,
general.
and
It doesn't matter what you were to oppose their idea.
No, there were legitimately moderate Nazis. That's not a lie. That's not bullshit.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. I'm not repeating
Look, this is a stupid derail. Why are we talking about the Nazis?
No. Listen, let me tie it to this. Okay, is that you are talking about obvious-isms, right? Like Nazism is bad.
I'm talking about your proposal.
It was a terrible idea.
No,
right?
We're talking about your
okay, but it wasn't obvious. It wasn't. It wasn't. It clearly wasn't obvious to the people at the time because the best idea, right, that people thought of was Nazism, right? That was the idea that floated to the top. Your proposal that if we allow these things to like propagate in the marketplace of ideas, your proposal that if we allow these things to propagate in the marketplace of ideas, that the best ideas will win out, is clearly not fucking true. Right? It is not fucking true. Not for Nazis. Not for any of the fucking like crazy ass countries that we have in the world where they do horrible, autocratic, terrible fucking things.
Though, like,
right?
This
is not how.
Like, this is not a generalized statement without providing specifics and truth.
Hey guys, can I say something?
How does the best idea not win out in the?
Can I say something?
I mean, it's just obvious from the state of the world. Clearly, the best ideas haven't won out in a whole bunch of places.
It hasn't worked out yet. Let's go to Cooper, and then Kaz, and then Chris, because he hasn't seen anything in a long time than Kaz. All right, Cooper.
Dan, I got a message from you saying that. Who's Dan here?
Oh, Dan the Stamp.
Yeah, right there.
I was just trying to like warn you that people are going to be pretty mean.
Oh, they're not doing anything wrong, mate. They're not bothering me. I'm loving this conversation. I'm just chilling, mate. You know.
Okay.
Yo, high five.
I'm not trying. I'm not trying to be mean to this dude at all.
I'm fine, guys. I'm just keeping quiet. I'm just keeping quiet. You know?
Well, no. The reason why I jumped in is because I saw 1776 kind of being dogpiled, and so I thought, like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna give my and look.
You're gonna override the whole conversation.
You told us why you came in. You did tell us. We got it. Thank you, Chris.
Been all over the place. Clearly, like the marketplace of ideas is not the best place to like reel out these things. We didn't stop Nazism by like arguing them down. We killed a bunch of them, right? And we forced their leader to kill themselves.
How did we do that?
With guns and
in the marketplace of ideas, we did that.
Yeah.
The
battlefield. There's no doubting that. Thank you for making my point.
Battlefield of ideas.
The marketplace of ammunition.
We didn't.
We dropped truth bombs on them. Go ahead. I'm sorry, buddy. Chris, please.
We didn't end segregation in America through debate. Right, we did it through federal legislation.
Other people like my grandfather fought and pushed the notion and made sure that people understood.
Holy shit, Brian, shut up. Just let him fucking say his point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jesus,
Well, I'm
if
just-
I had
I'm just
50
saying
bucks,
my
I'd pay to meet
I'm-
this
no,
cunt
no,
for
I'm
an
just
hour,
saying-
and I've never wanted to do that for anybody at all.
No, I-
We've had Brittany from
I'm
Politically
agreeing
Provoked
with
on this
Chris.
panel, and I didn't want to fucking mute her
Well,
as
you
much as I
can't
want to
agree
mute
with
you.
them either,
Oh my
chat. You
God.
can't agree with
Yeah,
people either.
great. Shut up, Chris. Go.
But my main point is that, like, we see throughout history that this isn't how these things work, right? When it comes to the marketplace of ideas, things don't just get argued down and the best idea comes to the top. We've seen over and over again, right? We thought slavery was the best idea in America, right? Right? That idea rose to the top, and it was at the top for like 400 years, right? So, like, let's not pretend this is the case. Like,
Knew it was coming.
Shut up.
Like, look.
On Ed.
This is dumb, right? We see QAnon rising to the top of like Republican beliefs. It needs to be combated in more ways than just people arguing it down. Where like the left is trying to do it, it's not working out enough, right? The right isn't trying to do it at all, right? You're just like, distance yourself. But what are you doing to combat that?
No,
right?
not all Republicans follow QAnon.
my
You know, I'm
bad.
Republican.
Agree.
but I don't
I'm
believe
not-
QAnon bullshit.
If you
Oh, yeah, you do. I heard
Agree,
you.
everybody, yeah,
Hold
blah,
on.
blah, blah.
Hold on. You listen to what I said. I said it's rising to the top in Republican beliefs.
Okay,
I didn't
fair
say
enough.
all. I didn't say all Republicans believed it.
Fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
This one does, though, a little bit. He believes some of them. I've heard him talk on them. Yeah.
Who is that?
How do you feel about the election, by the way, Aviator?
How do I feel about the election?
Yeah.
I don't think there was enough fraud to make any difference, but I think it did call to light that there is some issues with our election process that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with
But
that.
glad you
Biden
tempered your
won fair
opinion.
and square. As much as I can't stand Biden, he won. He's the president.
Nice. All right, carry on then, Chris.
I don't think 81 million people voted for him.
Chris,
though.
did you?
Well,
Chris,
bad.
Chris, did you?
I'm actually done. I think. Like,
Okay.
I think.
But I agree with you, Chris, man. You made good points.
All right, Kaz.
The goal of conspiracy theory is not to convince you of something certifiably. It's to convince you that there's a doubt, that there's a chance that there might be a thing that happens. And platforming conspiracy theorists is at best suspect. Beyond that, most QAnon people, they also have an intersectionality with white nationalism. It's a thing that goes hand in hand in a lot of different respects. And the further you go down the rabbit hole, the more intersectionality with these fringe political ideologies you find. So if you start making very clear, like, accepting questions, playing the Socratic method for these views that you say you denounce, that's a tacit endorsement to me. Your best bet's just to denounce it and move the fuck on. And you can call that left, right, whatever the fuck, but I do the same thing to tankies if they start denying a genocide again.
Okay. Anyone else? Aviator, you just came in. Do you have anything you want to say in particular?
No, I'm just kind of relaxing and listening to the discourse to see.
Yeah, I got enough
everything that's
energy
being
for all of this,
discussed, and then I'll jump in.
Can
once,
I say something?
Going at 17, going for it.
Do you know, I'll tell you one thing I will agree with Vivian on a thing. There is a big problem with some very far-right conspiracy people. You have some very far-righters who say Hitler was right and all that stuff. And I watch that stuff. I don't watch it. I watched it before, sorry. But it's a load of crap. Like, they say Hitler was right, and I'm thinking to myself, what a load of crap. It is true. You do get some far-righters who watch those videos, for example, and it's just ridiculous. It's just like, that's
You know
what
the
I
one.
mean.
You know the one I really like is the Hitler was actually Jewish and was like a child of the Rothschild family.
That to
and
me and my
orchestrated
family is
the,
an insult. That to me and my family is an insult. My grandfather's.
I don't think the Jews, mate. The Jews are not to blame for the bankers. The Jews aren't the
No.
bankers who are the ones who
No.
I know.
The people to actually reprimand in history when it comes to what happened to the Jews are the fellow community members that chose to buy into the politics, chose to turn in their neighbors. My grandmother's brother was shot dead in the street. and that's something people don't talk about a lot of the time. My
Your
grandmother
specific
gets mad.
grandma and brother, like
My
of course
grand,
not.
yes, exactly. But my grandmother chose on my 13th birthday to tell me about that and to explain to me, even though my family had changed to Christianity when moving to America, because they felt as though there were Operation Paperclip, there were Germans that lived in America and would assassinate them. And they changed from Judaism to Christianity.
I just think it's wild that somebody who has this history, knows this history, would continue to push the same narratives that caused it to happen.
I don't, and in no way have I ever pushed communist or Nazi fucking propaganda.
No, just the New World Order.
I dare you to bring it up.
conspiracy
Bring it up. Where's it at? Where's the case in point?
Yeah,
I
just
denounce it.
the New World Order
makes
conspiracy theory, the globalists.
No. I don't allow ad hominem in my chat. I do not allow that. And that
what?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, I don't know.
What I'm talking about. No. We can play stupid because, like, that was a coup d'etat right there, but it's okay. But like I said, as a Jewish American, as a second.
That's not how you pronounce
You
it.
just surprise murdered. You just surprise murdered somebody.
It feels like you're just saying words.
Chat. When you have a spot, people.
How about you make a point rather than engaging in this ridiculous sophistry all the time?
Yeah, the fact that my grandmother came here as a Jewish fucking immigrant, and now she converted to Christianity because she was afraid.
And she would be turning in her grave.
My grandfather was a coal miner. His father was a coal miner. And before that, okay.
I'll take a 1v7.
Okay.